Stompn, Spoit, or Bolo? Which of these three gunners had the best rookie stage? Well, this was a question, Fett, that was posed by the EML broadcast about a week or so ago, and they happened to throw up an image talking about these three players and showing off the stats of these three players. If you have a moment to unfreeze the Fett face, would you say, of those three, which one had the best rookie stage? Or dare I throw some chaos into the mix here? Do you think there is another player who had a better rookie stage than Stompn, Spoit, or Bolo?
Yeah, so the conversation.
Great energy. Really, look at how excited you are to talk about this. You're not even sick this week.
No, yeah. I mean, the conversation, I feel like they only posted those three players because they're like the big YouTube boys, right? I do think Stompn did have a better rookie stage than Bolo. I think that's for sure. I do, however, think that. I'm gathering my bearings real quick. Hold on. David, you might want to cut this.
I can hear
I'm turning the
we're
cogs.
Not cutting, no, we're not cutting
we're
this.
Not, we're not cutting this. Hold on. I was going to say
this.
No, because I was going to say something so insightful, and then it just like slipped out of my mind, and I'm trying to like grab it again. No, yeah, I do because I want to say something first before the pitchforks come at me. Because if I say something like if I say the part I think first before I say the preface to the think, the 13-year-old Jinxie fans are gonna be in the comments slamming us, which actually might be a good thing. Which actually might be a great thing for drives engagement. Yes, it does drive engagement. But I will say, Stompn has had one of the best rookie stages, one of the greatest rookie stages ever. He has definitely not had the greatest rookie stage of all time. Now, if you'll redirect your attention to the graphic that it says at the bottom, you see source kebo.gg.com. We can pull that up. Kebo. Shout out Kebo. He compiled a list of stats for a tweet, I think a while ago, a couple months ago, or a couple weeks ago at this point, of the top-rated rookie stage comparison of their rating in their first stage of Pro League. Now, people often think a rookie season is a year, and they're saying, oh, Stompn's rookie season isn't over yet. In Siege terms, because in NBA or sports terms, it does last a year long, and then there's the championship, right? In Siege terms, the championship happens like after like the 3 months that the stages last, or the 2 months. So for us, we're talking about like European MENA League Stage 1. That is a stage, okay? And when you look at this graphic, you see a couple players above Stompn. You see Shaiko, LikEfac, Diffuser, and Spoit. The reason why Stompn did not have the greatest rookie stage of all time, but one of the greatest, I absolutely think it's one of the greatest. It's absolutely impressive. It's not the greatest because the top three players coincidentally happen to win the respective championship of the world S tier. Bolo would hate me for this, but world championship, because you're playing against everyone else in the world. All right, that stage. So the event, the international event that followed up that stage with hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million of prize pool, Spoit won the Berlin Major, Diffuser won the Manchester Major, LikEfac won the Jönköping Major on the very first stage. Now, before I go into who I think is the best, Parker, why don't you say who you think is the best and your reason why?
Oh, I know that this show is about hot takes, and as a small side note, I don't know if you noticed, because I have been very keenly interested in what the subreddit is saying about us. They did not like how clickbaity our titles were, and they actually blamed it on you. They said that it was your fault, that it was the I don't want to say the fetishization, because I think that's a different word.
The fetishization.
But we are going to use it here, because as we teach you words, we're gonna keep teaching Fett words, but we are also going to teach ourselves different words. I just want to say, like, look, this is a numbers game. We want you to engage with our content, and we've been doing great. Thank you to all the subscribers as of late. Thank you to all the people who've been commenting. We had a bunch of calls to action in our latest episode, and you did a great job. Producer David now is halfway to Lamborghini, so very, very good work, everybody here. We're hoping to get him at least the other half of the way with this episode. So obviously, thank you, Producer David, always in the comments. But no, the thing is like, look, YouTube is a very different game than when we used to upload every single week, ages and ages and ages ago. You need to game the algorithm. You constantly need to, you come up with clickbaity titles, etc. That's obviously why the, I don't know, the title this week is probably going to be something like, you know, Stomping Over Spoit. Like, I don't fucking know. But anyway, we don't also come up with the names of our titles. We have an entire like team that does this for us. Part of the allure of joining Last Free Nation way long ago was that I don't have to do anything anymore, which is really quite nice. I just show up and I just say things, and then they take care of all the rest of it, and it's really quite wonderful. It's very good. It's a good relationship right now. But I know that this is a clickbaity show, and I know that we're supposed to be like angry and fighting each other. And I mean, I think there's very compelling reasons for all of these players to say that they put on an incredible showing. I mean, Diffuser obviously fragging really well in a very shield-heavy meta where he didn't play on the shield operators, of course, but still had a great season. I think when you look at Spoit obviously had his time in the sun during the LMG meta. Admittedly, he didn't play LMGs. I actually went to the subreddit when they were talking about last week, when they were talking about all these players about, oh, you know, they you know, their crutches, whatever. And Leon Gids himself actually weighed in and basically said, like, Finka was actually banned most of our games. He almost never played her until the Berlin Major. And then, of course, he went insane the Berlin Major because at that stage of the game, you just play Finka and you win. That's just what happened. I think all of them are great. And I have a suspicion I know exactly who you're going to say. But I think when you look at the caliber of competition, when you look at the history of the team around them, when you look at the state the game was in, the only real knock that I have against a player like Spoit is that he did all of that in a fragging role, which is quote unquote less impressive because a lot of these other players had other duties. They were planting, they were playing support ops and either attack defense, they were IGLing, they were doing other stuff. Spoit basically just came in and was like, I'm a good YouTuber who knows how to pew pew, and they let him pew pew, and he did excellent. I think it is Spoit. I think out of all of them, I think he came in a very aggressive meta. He excelled incredibly well. Everybody was fragging, but he fragged better with less experience. He did it on a team that, let's call a spade here, historically was never a very good team. They had a couple good results, but they were never a world beater. When you thought of the top teams of the region, they were never one or two. They were competing against the X-Empire squad, the G2 team, the Wolves team, the BDS team. They were competing against all of these incredible squads. And Spoit just comes up against some titans of our esport and is like, yeah, I know you guys are crazy and you're fragging well, but I'm going to do that even better. And then he goes on to win one of the best majors that we saw in a long time. The Berlin Major was incredibly competitive. And he does all of that as somebody who most people just thought was a YouTuber and a youngster. That's why I think out of all of them, Spoit is the most impressive. Now, feel free to tear me to pieces.
Oh, I mean, I think that's completely valid. I think you're completely right on that fact, is that Spoit came into a team that was 6th place and then like either 8th or 9th place before that. Literally, people thought they were like okay, let's not hold back any words. People thought they were dog shit. People thought that roster was fucking dog shit. Like genuinely, that was the public perception of the roster at the time. Spoit joins rookie season, top rated season ever out of any rookie ever, and then carries them. You could reasonably say took them, carried them, lifted them on his shoulders. Bing, bang, boom. Berlin Major win. Now, I will say, first of all, I want to like make the criteria clear. I'm glad you said that because I think the reason why I can't put Stompn on as the greatest, or I can't even put a guy, I love you, Diffuser, out of the 3 people that won their first event, right? I think that's number 1 qualification. Did you take a team, put him on your back, and lead them to an event win, right? Within your first stage. That is insane to do as a rookie, right? Like, that is just genuinely insane. That's like if Victor Wembanyama took the Spurs to an NBA championship in his very first year, right? It's like almost unheard of, but in a game like Siege, I guess anything can happen because people are just so damn good, and I don't know, it's volatile. But so for out of those 3, Spoit, Diffuser, LikEfac, I think number 1 is to win that championship your first year because there's no topping that. Number 2, I think it kind of has to be clear that you are the reason that they won. For that reason, I love my dear friend Diffuser. He won the championship with me, but for that reason, I feel like I can't put him because that was a whole brand new roster altogether. It could have been anyone, and Gunner had that monster performance, right? That leaves LikEfac and Spoit. And for me, I'm actually shoot the other way and say it's LikEfac. LikEfac, in my opinion, had the greatest rookie stage ever because of his role. He was the IGL of BDS. Not only was he the IGL, can you imagine your rookie stage You get put on a team at 18 years old. You are told to tell Shaiko what the fuck to do. This is back when Shaiko was literally like revered as like God himself, right? Like he's still fucking damn good, but back then Shaiko was like the deal. And then you're both IGLing the team as a rookie, which you never see because usually the IGLs are always like the veterans that tell the youngins what to do. The youngins are fraggers. No, you come as an 18-year-old, you IGL them, you drop like 20 kills a game, you're carrying. And for the first time, there's a person on a team with Shaiko, and people are starting to think Shaiko might not be the best player on his team. I think that is an insane amount of impact. I don't think people truly understand how difficult it is to be IGL. IGL is typically a role that you're expected to have a .9 KD. Canadian is revered as one of the greatest players of all time because he won in 3 different eras on 3 different teams, right? All world championships, and he's an IGL, and he has that big of an impact, but his lifetime KD is 0.9. And you watch him play mechanically, and you're like, wow, this guy's your GOAT? What the fuck? LikEfac's doing that while dropping 20 kills a game. So for that, I'm going to have to say LikEfac.
Okay. Number 1. It's LikEfac. I win.
And for our next topic of the day, we're going to talk.
I believe I have bested you in the free marketplace of ideas here. I fear there is no coming back from this. It's actually okay because his name is, a lot of the casters will call him EFAC.
Yeah.
I don't know. I worry that EFAC is too close to a word that nobody should be saying. So
Counter argument.
You're showing me your pussy.
Counter argument. Thoughts on my counter argument?
It's very cute. He, she, they, them. What is it?
She. Dumpling.
She.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, continue.
My cat is locked out of the room because he would get unruly.
No.
All right. So here's the thing. I think LikEfac is a terrific competitor, and I think he inhabits this weird role where he's both simultaneously overrated and underrated. I think people overrate the parts of him, kind of like you do, if I may. I understand that being an IGL is one thing, but Alems was still on this team. So there was still another voice of leadership there to help them. Right?
Yeah.
When you're looking at this BDS roster, the roster that would then go on to win the Onshiping Major, I think people very rightly came to realize that Alems was a little bit replaceable, though he did have very good stats in the Onshiping Major. The player that was easiest to remove was Renshiro, and I think most people would agree that Renshiro is a terrific aimer, but I mean, the team has been better since they moved him off of the squad. The whole team has been better, period, since then. The Onshiping Major, in my eyes, is one of the worst majors that we've ever had. It's one of the worst live events. I mean, not just because the competition was quite poor, but also, we blew the budget, so we had to have it at a tiny little dream hack where like 7 people showed up. And then Blue and Stokes were supposed to do the finals, and then, after a year's worth of them grinding for the finals, Blue literally gets food poisoning at like 3 a.m, and I had literally just gotten out of the shower, and I was just like sitting naked on my bed in the hotel room, and I get a phone call from Stokes, and I look at my phone and I'm like, call time's in like 16 minutes. Why is he calling me? Maybe he needs to borrow a tie or something. And he's like, hey buddy, you want to cast a grand final? And I was like, did you throw John down a well? What happened to Blue? Anyway, that event I view as less technically impressive. And I mean, obviously we're talking about stage results here, and the numbers, which by the way, Kebo's numbers that show off. The tweet is from @KeboGG_.
Yeah.
And of course, Kebo has 2 accounts. So the first one is the @KeboGG_. The other one is @Kebo_R6. That is, as far as I'm aware, Kebo's personal account. Obviously a call to action here is just follow them. I mean, Kebo GG is a great resource. It's a website that is derived off of the data in our game. And I mean, a lot of people want to have more information at their disposal. Kebo GG's website does a good job of that. You should visit it, and you should also follow the KeboGG_ account. Whether you want to follow Kebo's personal account is really up to you, but I mean, I think it's worthwhile. Anyway, I think what LikEfac did was impressive, but I think where he gets overrated is in the fact that you have a very, very good team. Like Brede is one of the best support players still to this day in like the history of this game. Bride is the clutch minister. It's a term that obviously was used in Counter-Strike, but if there's anybody that you're thinking of for very impressive clutches, like Bride just jumps to mind. Shaiko, inarguably one of the greatest players ever, period. And when you come in and you can keep up with them, that's great. But I don't think it's as impressive to IGL, an already near championship winning team like he did, as it is to come in to a very competitive region. I think it's safe to say that that time EUL was crazy with how many good teams there were. There were some rosters that were really, in my eyes, like at the peak of their potential. Spoit comes in and he has to match up against all of them. He has to match up against the BDSs. He has to match up against the G2s. He has to match up against the Wolves, etc. At the time, if you remember, that's when the Russian teams had lost their sponsors as well. So they were going by like Pones, and I can't remember, the Unwanted or something like that. I can't remember what the other one was called.
Outsiders?
Outsiders, yeah, Outsiders. And it's like, but these are still great teams. And EU is, up until very recently, I would argue EU has historically been the most competitive region in Siege. I think at this point, Brazil, or South America League as it's called now, has supplanted them. And I think it's the most competitive region. But I think at the time, EU was still the most competitive. Now, obviously, alone, he didn't make Rogue the perfect team. You had DPAC, who put on a career performance at the Berlin Major and was, I think, unable to replicate those numbers for the remainder of his career. You had Cryan, who had an amazing bounce back year as well. You had good support around him, but it was Spoit who was consistently tasked with getting in the building first, getting kills against the most dominant fraggers in every region. And he did it with ease, and he did it without abusing the crutch operators that at the time were being used by all of the top fraggers. And to this point, if you go and you look at, where's my tab here? If you go and you look at their stats as to how they performed at their respective events, the Berlin Major, which was won by Rogue, which was Spoit's first LAN event, the one that he became a major championship on, he was somewhere around, he was top 15. But keep in mind, there's a bunch of people who have a better rating than him because they only played 4 or 5 matches, right? The second highest rated player at the tourney was Pino, and he played 6 maps. Spoit played 16. So obviously that rating is going to skew things. But Spoit had a 1.09. He had a plus 25 in just regular KD. He had the second or third highest kills at the event, period. And he was a plus 11 on entry. Plus 11 on entry. The only player at the entire event who had better numbers than him, in my eyes, was Cyber, who ended up losing in the same grand final, by the way. And Cyber was on an absolute tear, but Cyber also wasn't a rookie. Cyber at that point has been playing for 6 years. The next highest person on that team was Cryan, who was at a 1.05. He went plus 0 on entry. Spoit was able to chew through people. And if you look at Spoit's entry numbers, he was second or third best KD for entry players. If you look at his headshot rating, he was second on the team. If you look at clutches, he was also up there. Spoit was a machine on LAN. And then his stats in EUL were even better than his stats at the Berlin Major, because of course your stats in interregional leagues should be better because you've got some teams that you can farm. You're probably not going to be farming teams at a LAN event because the best of the best should go. Yes, Spoit wasn't an IGL. Yes, Spoit was not responsible for wrangling a bunch of players to get the best out of them while fragging himself. But I mean, come on, man. LikEfac is a solid dude and is a great player. But I don't think when you look at his overall numbers, he can hold a candle to Spoit. But the problem that we're going to have with this is because they play on different roles.
Yes.
It's going to be big. It's like in hockey, it's who is better, a defenseman or, a guy who played left wing. You can't really do that.
Yeah.
But it's I think LikEfac's great, but I mean, Spoit's just, his numbers are so hard to touch, and I don't know if we're going to see another rookie do that.
Yes. I think in terms of taking a bottom team and bringing them up, the leap that Spoit took with his team, genuinely insane, right? Genuinely insane. And it's really hard to argue against that. And also the other thing that I find hard to argue against is, like you said, the stakes at the time. The Berlin Major was an insane kind of peak of competition time, whereas I feel like the Yanchiping Major had a little bit less hype going in around it. I do agree with that. However, I think this is sort of like an unfair thing. I think two things are unfair. One's unfair to you, one's unfair to me. I think the thing that's unfair to me is to like be like, well, his team was shittier. Well, I agree it matters, but it's like I don't want to be able to hold it against a player that like they joined a good team, you know, to like go against their legacy. I think that's unfair. Like if you spawn in on a bad team or a good team, you know what? Good for you, right? And I think you know, it just happens. Everybody's gonna take their best possible offer, right? And I also think what's unfair to you, for my argument, is the amount of events that happened within the span of LikEfac's rookie year. Because Gamers 8 happened, and he won that. And then he won the Japan Invitational, which is, I guess, a semi-international. And then he won the Yanchiping Major, and then he won the EUL Finals, which is just timing. That's very unlucky for, like, Spoit not to, because we will never know. But LikEfac took that team, which I know you say they're a championship roster, but at least my remembering at the time is that BDS roster, yes, they were very good. And it's very hard to argue against the fact that they were like probably just like infinitely better regarded roster than the Rogue roster that Spoit took to a championship. But at the same time, it was a team that was known to fall short internationally. It was like Shaiko can't just carry this team by himself. Shaiko's cursed. Shaiko can't seem to get an international win. And LikEfac was the guy they brought in that got him basically three international wins and won his rookie season as an IGL and then the EUL finals right after that. So that's why for me, I think it's just because like as like working with IGLs, knowing how much goes into it, knowing how common your IGL gets a lower rating because Siege is such a fucking chess game. And not only that, coming in as your first stage as an IGL, like usually players are known to be timid and shy and like get run over in the first stage. He went in there and like bitched Shaiko, I guess. Like, right? Like the fucking legend of the game. I think that's insane, and I think that's irreplicable. And I guess there's a bit of a hindsight bias here, but I think it goes on to show, I think it like foreshadows how impactful he would end up becoming, as opposed to maybe, and this is no diss at all to Spoit, but maybe you could say compared to how impactful Spoit is. Just because I feel like just you see more greatness, consistency with IGLs, right? Like people regard Fabian as one of the greatest because he led teams to victory. Canadian, same thing, right? And now, you know, like great minds that have built together Igor and Felipox at Fury or Herds roster. Right? I guess more people care about Herds, but Herds was also like a semi IGL, right? So I think for me, I'm probably just because I've worked with players like really closely. I think I'm like very biased towards that fact that he was an IGL, like the leadership aspect of it, because I think that's fucking hard and irreplicable. And I think it shows now that he had that year of, I guess, he had a year of being a second place dynasty, but people like, I think pro players still regard that as a dynasty. I think it shows.
Now, was he 100% the IGL when Alems was still on the team? Because I thought
Yes.
I'm starting to second guess myself now. I thought Alems was still the IGL until he ended up like leaving the roster.
I
could be wrong.
From what I've heard, and I also could be wrong, but from what I've heard is like I think they went into it like intending for him to, you know, come in lightly, but I think he just ended up taking over because you see the guy. Yeah. That guy's wait, you know, like that guy.
He could eat all the other players.
Yes.
He could, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I don't think we're going to reach a consensus on Spoit versus LikEfac because of the rules. So let's turn
to the audience.
Well, would you like to call to action?
Yes. Who do you think has the greatest rookie stage of all time?
Am I right? Is Fet right? Do you have somebody else? Because if you look at Kebo's graphic, Diffuser had a really good season as well. I think Citizen's rookie season was also excellent. But the two guys that we're kind of ignoring are Bolo and Stompn. Now, the original question was Bolo or Stompn. If you or Spoit, if I strike LikEfac from the conversation and I'm like, hey, Eric, because that's your real name, which means I'm being very serious. I'm not calling you Fet. I'm calling you Eric.
No.
So you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
If you had to choose between Spoit, Stompn, and Bolo, do you at least agree that of those three it's Spoit, or do you think it's going to be Stompn? Or okay,
it's Spoit. But I do want to say, like, I want to give our flowers here to Stompn, because like that's grand finals.
Is throwing flowers at Stompn.
Yes, grand finals is no easy task. Like, this is once in a lifetime. I don't think console players truly realize how lucky they are. Stompn is still a once in a lifetime generational player. I mean, a 1v5 in your first ever grand finals? Really? That's generational. You never see talent like that. And that, I mean, as a counterpoint to that, that should also show you how generational it is for players like Spoit, LikEfac, and Diffuser to win their first event, right? So it's like, these players are all, without a doubt in my mind, just generational players. And it's just, that's how one in a trillion, that's how unreplicable? Unreplicable. I think I've already said that a couple times this podcast, but that's how, like, unreplicable it is. You
Teach
can't.
fat words.
Yes, teach fat words. You can't recreate that, right? So flowers to Stompn, but also flowers to everyone else, because, I mean, it's just phenomenal. It's history.
For people who need a point of reference, by the way, it was the stage 1 EML grand finals that happened a couple months ago, where G2 faced off against the corpse of VP in the first round that they played in, which was upper bracket semis. They beat them. They went on to scrape by Team Secret, who would then later would get the last laugh at the Esports World Cup, and then defeated Team Falcons, which is the old BDS roster, who happens to still have a young, strapping LikEfac on the team, because LikEfac is only 22 years old, which, by the way, I try to keep on top of like players' stories and stuff like that. When I'm casting, usually it's Jesse who takes the reins on it. He's the one who, you know, like pride of Ann Arbor, Michigan, like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know how you know where all these people are from, but good on you, you know? I guess he's very well primed with this. He spends a lot of money on GeoGuessr, so like, who knows? But I mean, Stompn was an MVP against Team Falcons in the grand final of the EML. Like, and you know, I don't think this is really that important, but I do think it plays a role. Stompn's a teenager living in America who had to move to another continent. Let me tell you this. Most gamers have never flown until their first event. The amount, I don't know if you've flown before then, or how many trips you've gone on, but like the amount of times,
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
The amount of times that like a team will qualify for a LAN event and they'll be like, oh shit, I guess I should get a passport. And I'm just like, how has this not been a consideration? Like, I mean, obviously I get that. Like, my first flight ever in my life when I was 20 was when I was 24. So like, I get that. 24 would put me in the retirement home. I would be very firmly on thermite duty if I was playing. So a lot of these like 18, 19-year-old kids, they don't fly, they don't travel, they don't go far from home. Stompn not only has to play at a professional level at a really young age, but he's doing it disconnected from like his support networks and his family and his friends. And he's in a different country where they don't necessarily speak the same language, or not everybody speaks the same language that he speaks, which obviously is English. Like, he's having to acclimate to a new currency, new cultures, new customs, like all this stuff. That's a lot. And I will say, when I moved to Poland when I was 27, it was my first time going to Europe. Poland is obviously a different country that I'm assuming he's living in Berlin like the rest of the team. But it's like,
Scotland.
He's with Doki in Scotland? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that sense, at least they speak the language. I admittedly thought he was in Berlin, but that's whatever. I mean, I'd rather be in Scotland than Germany, but that's just because my whole family is Scottish, so I'm very biased here. Though I'm glad it's not England. Can we agree on that? I'm glad he doesn't live in England.
I liked England when I was there. Okay, we don't like England, I guess.
No, we like Scotland. We don't like England. Okay. But so in that sense, maybe it's less of a culture shock, which is fine, but he's still in a different continent. He's still experiencing different things. Like, there's something to be said about that. It's very easy for you to struggle to acclimate. And I mean, there's been NHL players, there's been basketball players, there's been footballers who will move to a different country or move to a different city and be like, this is throwing me out of rhythm. Like, being far from my family, like, it's tough, you know, like, I don't know how to do anything. Like, I'm lost. Stompn is excelling when pretty much the deck is stacked against him. And he's putting up these numbers with Loira on the team as well, which is really, really impressive. So it's like, it's not like he can step back and kind of rest on his laurels and let the rest of the fraggers frag. Like, there's enough firepower on that G2 roster on paper. But he's stepping up and he's showing everybody how it's done. And I honestly think it's hard to top Spoit's rookie debut. But Stompn is real close. And I'm assuming that this G2 team is going to make it to Munich. If that's the case, I would love to see how he does on LAN at an international event on the main circuit. It will be fascinating to watch because I think he's going to light it up.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, he's like Spoit without the dub, like in a little bit of a way, because people don't remember that G2 roster was like fucking abhorrent before they got him. Like let me give you 2024 before they got Stompn. All right, post 6 Invitational, because they did get 4th at the 6 Invitational. Okay, 19th through 20th place Manchester Major, which they had to qualify through a last chance qualifier because they got 5th in EU and couldn't make it. Okay, same thing with Montreal, also again through last chance qualifier because they couldn't fucking make it through the playoffs of EULs because they fucking sucked. 15th through 16th place at the Montreal Major. Okay. At the 6th Invitational 2025, little bit of a resurgence, dominated their group, 9th through 12th place, lost to arguably the worst NA team at the time, who, by the way, the team they lost to at 6th Invitational had the world record for the longest lose streak in Pro League history. All right? Reload, 9th through 16th place. And then they got Stompn, and then they got 1st in Europe and 2nd at the Esports World Cup. I think that's impact. Okay, granted, he did have 2 World Championship players. Spoit had 1, but, I mean... Still, I think that goes
Kanto, and Kanto was very much on the downward trend of his career, though.
Yeah.
You know, like I think you can look at players that have won world championships and realize that they obviously bring experience and stuff like that to the table, but they're a shell of themselves when it comes to, you know, their ability and when compared to where they were. Like, I mean, I love Canadian dearly, and if he was on the show right now, I would say it to his silly little face. But I think it's fair to say that Canadians' mechanical abilities have not been able to keep up with the development of newer players. Canadian has never been an aimer. You know, you can go back and see embarrassing clips on Pojo Man's Pro Digest, like 4, which came out when I'm pretty sure like you weren't even born. But like you can go back and see like Canadian botching shots. He was never an aimer. He was never a mechanical god. He was brought for his strats and all that came with that. But you can even see now that he's a multi-time world champion and his strats look great and he's getting a lot out of his Shopify Rebellion teammates, or not, because we're going to be talking about that later in the show. At least for this week, he didn't get the most out of them. But I think it's fair to say that his aiming abilities are not where they were when he won his world championship with Continuum, and they're certainly not where they were when he won most recently with Space Station. I think he even had more impact on the rounds when he won the Charlotte Major with DZ too. And now it's like there are not credible questions about Canadian's abilities, but I think when you look at the way he plays and see that he is consistently at the bottom of the standings week over week, people are like, okay, well, he's a world champion, but how much does that world championship, like how much goodwill does that buy him? Yeah. And I think it's the same with Kanto Raketti. Like Kanto Raketti is, I love Kanto to death. He's a great guy. He's a great player. But at that point in time, like he wasn't a world champion at his peak. You know, he was somebody who was very much on the downswing. So I don't know. I think LikEfac's great. I think Stompn's great. The only other question now is what about Bolo? What do you think? What do you think about Bolo? When does Bolo play?
Bolo's an all-time great, but I think he just like when you're just talking about pure rookie stage, I don't think it's necessarily comparable. I think Stompn has a better like pure rookie stage to Bolo, because he won EU and then he got second. He went to a grand final immediately. So that's my opinion on it, at least.
I think Bolo's great, but I will say, I think people overhyped his debut. For people who are too young, and I don't know the median age of the people who watch this show, but if you were involved in the Rainbow Six Siege scene in 2017, 2018, you could not escape the Bolo chatter. I think obviously it's a very different landscape now. I think Stompn and Jinxie are talked about more frequently than Bolo was. But while we were a smaller scene back then, there were fewer people to rally around. Bolo was everywhere. You streamed, you got more than 10 viewers, you were getting asked about Bolo. What do you think about Bolo? What about when Bolo goes live? Bolo, for a period of time, Fett had me on his auto host list. And when he would stop streaming and I would go live, I didn't know I was on his auto host list. And after a short period of time, like I remember asking one of my mods about it. They're like, well, it's because Bolo hosts you. And I was like, I didn't know that. I would be getting asked about Bolo every like 45 seconds. When do you think Bolo's going to play? Do you think Bolo would be good in Pro League? What do you think about Bolo's videos? What do you think about Bolo leaning? What do you think about Bolo peaking? What do you think about this? And I like Jason. I think he's an awesome guy. I talk to him at every single event. Obviously, he's retired again now. He's a former world champion with that TSM roster. More important, he's found a loving partner, and he now has a child. Like that's the real accomplishment in life, not winning money and lifting a hammer over your head. Though that's pretty cool too. But it's like Bolo really didn't hit the ground running the same way that somebody like Spoit did, like somebody like Stompn did. And I do wonder if Bolo had maybe been a bit later, if we had seen a difference. Like if the game was in a more mature state, if Bolo was in a more competitive scene, you know, what would have happened? Because I think a lot of those early Bolo videos that are so impressive, they're impressive, but I also think that the people he's playing against are just not as good as the average player at that level is today. I think this was something you said last week, or maybe it was the week before. The longer that we play a game, the better people get at it. So if you go back and you look at like a champion in season 1 of Rainbow Six Siege, and then you look at a champion today, like a silver in Siege today could probably pull off most of what a champion did, or well, at the time I guess it was Diamond, could do all the way back, you know, like 10 years ago. Yeah. The game just gets better. Much, much, much better. So I do wonder if Bolo had more time to, you know, like maybe like marinate, if he would have been better when he made his debut, because he was kind of raw and the game was still kind of raw. And I don't know if, you know, and he also joined a not super great team right off the rip. So who knows? But
I'm going to pre-rage bait myself. All right. I'm going to respond to like a phantom chatter, because this has been said in my stream when I was literally discussing this a week ago. They were like, but that Bolo has a 6 invitational. Motherfucker, Bolo won his 6 invitational 2 years. 3 years after he started in Pro League. We're talking about a rookie stage, all right? The person that was typing that back now. Oh, fuck, I just broke my entire browser. Yeah. Anyways. But yeah, Bolo, insane player. I mean, super, super impactful, no doubt. I think everyone has different blooming times. I think, you know, the impact that guy has on the game is genuinely insane, because you mentioned like there probably are more eyes overall on Jinxie and Stompn. But like one thing I really appreciate about Bolo back then is he was literally doing the Jinxie part and the Stompn part by himself, right? Like Jinxie brought the viewers, Stompn brought on the Pro League. Bolo by himself brought the viewers. Bolo took same viewers to Pro League and there was a website called Windows Bolo Play. So I mean, that guy's legacy is untouchable. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. Like, also Zach's Stompn, I call him Zach, because yeah, fucking cool like that. I'm joking. No, his composure is actually different level, because you see a lot of people shake. That's crazy. It's crazy that like maybe it's the console tournaments, maybe it's like the 70,000 viewer, you know, Jinxie tournaments, or 100,000 viewer 1v1s that he used to play in. But yeah, man, like that guy. I think that's one of his biggest preparation steps. And Bolo skipped from tier 3 to tier 1. That's a big thing. Zach had a stage at tier 2, because I get shit on all the time, because there's a clip of me saying, well, he needs like, tier 2 experience to learn all the strats and how important comms are, and then he could be very, very, very good. But then, like, I was crashing out on my viewers because they were just like, his aim's good, so he's got to go pro. I'm like, no, you have to learn how to be not an asshole. Not sleep through scrims, how to work hard. Do you like scrimming or not? Because if you don't like scrimming, you're not going to fucking go pro. You got to learn the strats, right? You can't, like, not know how to clear a position that's common on PC, but not on console, and fucking lose. And lo and behold, he had a stage of T2, because people don't realize, like, the amount of prodigies that skip T2. There's a very large amount that skip T2. I feel like Zach's T2 development was actually very crucial to his success.
Yeah, I mean, he came from console, right? And I mean, console's a meat grinder. If you're able to pull off with an actual controller what most of the people are doing with Zim or whatever else they're playing with, it's very impressive. Yeah. And, console is, I've heard from people, console can get quite toxic as well. So that's obviously a pressure cooker in and of itself, where you have to deal with more toxicity and less mature people. But I think Stompn's debut has been terrific. I just think that he hasn't really been given the same opportunity to shine that both Spoit and LikEfac did. I mean, you mentioned it yourself. Yeah. Like LikEfac got to play in like 4 huge events. in the span of a single calendar year.
Yeah.
We don't have that ecosystem anymore. You know, we had Reload, like we had SI this year, which was great. We had Reload, which was kind of a gimmicky event that, you know, most people don't really care about, and it was fun. It was a nice way to show off CJX. It was not a part of the circuit. It was divorced of it. Like, it was fun to watch. I watched it. I co-streamed it like pretty much every day. Like, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't a competitive event, especially with the wager system that they had. Obviously, EWC, you know my thoughts on it, but I mean, even then, you called it cope. Sure, maybe that's the case, but I still hear from players who don't really care about it that much beyond winning the money. And then you just got the Munich major. And it's like, that's it. Like, okay, if you want to excel, where are you going to get these like LAN reps, right? EFAC played in one calendar year in his rookie year, the same amount of live events that could take Stompn 2 years to compete in.
Not even like 1 year, like fucking like a third of a year, like that. Like
it doesn't give you enough time to steep, and we gotta let the bitch steep. All right, so yeah, I have high hopes for Stompn. I've been very excited to see the way that he's rejuvenated this G2 squad, because I mean, for an org as big as G2, they've gone through the wilderness a few times. They've had some really bad iterations for reasons that are a little bit baffling. You know, they've definitely had a team that on paper should dominate, and then they just don't show up, and now they are dominating. Lawyer was always a great player in Brazil. He's excelled now that he's got a solid entry to work alongside. Doki looks like he's bounced back. Like, the team is doing well. So, you know, what more can you say about that? I want you to talk a little bit about Diffuser, by the way, because he's another name that's on this list that we really didn't dive into all that much, but I think he's worth discussing because Diffuser was a huge surprise for people. Obviously, on that Beast Coast team, Gunnar took a huge spotlight. Diffuser kind of just quietly coasted along. But you got experience with Diffuser. You got to hear him develop. You got to help him develop. But we didn't really give him his flowers the way that we did with others.
He is a one-of-a-kind talent as well. But I will also say it's his mindset and character that drives him through. I think that's the same thing with all of these players. Honestly, I want to highlight kind of a controversial part of Diffuser, because I think whenever Diffuser gets brought up, people always bring up his past. You know, he had a controversial past. He got banned like multiple times from tier 2. Because
for Toxicity, as far as I'm aware.
For Toxicity and shit. And there's a very like touching like screenshot that actually he told me made his mom cry when I posted it. That when he got banned for like the 3rd time for T2, I like DM'd him and I said something along the lines of like, dude, how come every single week I see you in some new drama? And then he started coming with the excuses, and I was like, I don't fucking care who's in the right or who's in the wrong. Dude, lock the fuck it. If you want to go pro, if you want to take this shit seriously, surround yourself with better people, encourage people around you to be better and better yourself. And ever since then, he went back into T2. He got unbanned. He won T2. He came to Pro League, won the Pro League stage, won the major, and that's all he fucking preaches. I see him a lot of times in calls with his younger friends who are a little immature and still saying stupid shit, and he's trying to get them to change. So that's what I'm really proud about him, and that's why I always like encourage players to change their character for the better when they're young. Like, I know it's really easy for if you're a guy gamer. It's very common that you land in a group that encourages being like a little bit low character, we'll call it, right? Like
a shithead.
Yeah, a shithead. But I think it's so like, if you want to go pro, obviously if you want to go pro, do whatever the fuck you want with life. If you want to go pro, honest to God, like the traits it requires, it's a more optimal to win to have high character. There has never been a low character person winning. And when people say that, well, Diffuser won because he changed. People don't fucking understand that. You view people, like, what do you view everyone as toxic, like little static NPCs? People change. So I think for Diffuser, I want to highlight how much he's changed, how much he's matured, how much now people don't see it, but how much he tries to create change in his own communities that were very toxic, that he grew up in, that influenced him, but now he's creating that change backwards for them. And I'm really proud of him for that.
I think it's impossible in this current climate that we live in to have this discussion without talking at least somewhat tangentially about politics, because there has been a very dedicated effort to radicalize predominantly young male gamers into a specific mindset, into a specific set of opinions, into a specific way of acting. And I'm obviously, as somebody who, anybody who's watched this knows that I talk about politics all the time. That is not something that I really care to bring to this podcast. So it's something I'm not going to be discussing frequently. But to your point about low character and shitheads, it is very, very challenging to be a young man in an online space and not just be subjected to really awful stuff.
Yeah.
And when you're a young kid and you're gaming and maybe your parents are working, maybe they're absent, maybe your friends are all gamers, you're going to be inundated with content that encourages you to never apologize, to be aggressive, that being kind is a weakness, that you are a soy boy beta male if you are, nice to people. And unfortunately, it's very challenging for young men these days to find kinship in online spaces in a positive way. Like I see people that act the way that, Diffuser did when he was younger, saying slurs, being aggressive, all that stuff. It's actually very common among young kids if you play video games for even like a couple hours a night. Q into League of Legends, Valorant, Call of Duty. Dear God, Call of Duty is just awash in it. Like Rainbow Six, like any of these games, and you're going to run into some kid that sounds like they are still in the middle of high school and they're calling you slurs. And then the moment you're like, hey, don't say that, they're just like, oh, why? Are you woke? Are you, whatever? And then they just keep going. And it's like, look, I've been on the internet a long time. I'm 35 years old. This stuff doesn't bother me. What bothers me is not that I've been called whatever thing they've called me. My skin's a little bit thicker than that. What bothers me is I think that these kids are being failed and they are failing themselves. And when you say, lock in, to me, it's about maturity.
Yeah.
And it's about growth. I have never once in my life met somebody who regularly uses slurs, who degrades people around them, who antagonizes other people, who goes out of their way to troll or grief or do God knows what. I have never met somebody who does all of those things and then also thought, wow, this is a mature person. If you want to succeed in anything that involves working with other people, you need a certain level of maturity that makes you tolerable to be around and makes you understand your own actions and handle yourself and the relationships around you in a positive way. And acting like a lot of these young kids are acting these days, it's not getting them anywhere. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is instead of realizing that, we are drifting farther apart and we are getting more polarized, where younger and younger men are more and more likely to, instead of say, am I the problem? Are my actions the problem? To say, no, women are the problem. No, politics are the problem. No, the government's the problem. No, Ubisoft is woke. That's the problem.
Ubisoft.
I don't know how to tell you this politely, and I don't really care what people say. I mean, obviously, this is going to get some people angry in the comment section. It's inevitable, and I don't really care. I'm here for it. Help us with engagement. Get angry. But it is not woke to be a mature and good person who understands that your actions and the way that you talk to people can potentially limit your own growth. That is not woke. That is called being an adult. That is called maturing, and that is called realizing that you do not live your own life in a silo. You live surrounded by people, and being somebody who is easier to get along with, maybe not easy to get along with, but easier to get along with. Someone who is not innately combative. Someone who is critical of themselves. Somebody who holds themselves to a high standard. Somebody who is interested in learning and, more importantly, listening to the people around you. All of those things are excellent traits to have as a human being, but they make you a better teammate. They make you more likely to succeed. And most critically among all of them, for some of these younger players, they make you more desirable to stay on the same team. So it's like, I'm glad that we've seen this growth. Diffuser's far from the only person who said questionable stuff. I mean, hell, I said questionable stuff when I was younger. Everybody has.
Yes.
And we need to be forgiving of these people. But it is great to see the growth that some of these players have. I've met Diffuser a couple times in person. I think from all of my interactions, he's gracious, he's kind, he's lovely, he's nice. He goes out of his way to say hi to me at every single event. Like, it's my job. I'm the caster. I should be going around to all these players and saying hi to them. he goes out of his way to say hi to me. And I didn't know him when he was younger. And I'm not going to judge him for things he said when he was 16, 17, 18 years old, because, you know, we all go through those phases. We've all grown up. You know, I feel like if half of the league's Call of Duty logs ever got leaked, none of us would ever work a day in our lives.
No, we would be gone.
But it's good that he's shown growth. I was more talking about his results in the server and not necessarily him as a person, but I think this is a good topic to have because we don't know who watches this show. And I think it's important that young men and young boys, because not all of them are men, some of them are kids, need to understand that being a little shithead online, which I often was when I was younger, don't get me wrong, being a shithead online is not a recipe for success. It is a quick trip down nobody wants to be around you path outside of those same people who reinforce that bad behavior. And finding people who can not only escape it, but then help those escape it too, like you say Diffuser has, that is very challenging to do. So kudos to him for his success in the server, but I think it's more important that he's grown as a person outside of it.
Yeah, I don't to break it down plain and simple, like as someone who has seen hordes and hordes of players come and go, this is why I say the thing that, like, before he even like came to PC, I said what matters is how hard he works his character and his professionalism. People don't understand how far professionalism extends. Like I've seen hordes and hordes of the greatest aimers, the greatest movers, the greatest players ever. The determining factor is their character. That is why, like, plain and simple, as a coach who's seen these players come and go, as a coach who built the team that became the best in the world in no time, right? What me and Parker are trying to say is it is literally optimal for success to increase your character. Because it just shows how much how far your discipline can go, how much you're able to change yourself for the better, right? I'm telling you, there's so many players with better aim than Stompn has ever had, but they argue, they sleep through scrims, and until they were able to fix that, they didn't get on teams. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to fucking wake up every day, yeah, let's scrim with the guy who calls me a slur and doesn't show up on time. No, you're fucking not. Not if you're getting paid $5,000 on G2. That's just not going to fucking fly, and you're not going to win like that, man. So I'm glad we talked about this. I'm glad we had this tangent.
It comes up often on my own personal streams because, you know, I am a beta male woke soy boy myself, you know, and I deliberately time that when you're drinking water. But for the people who don't have a visual reference, he was drinking water when I said that and almost made him spit his water everywhere. It comes up often on my streams because I have a pretty diverse audience, but I obviously, like, it's a gaming space. You know, most of my viewers are going to be men/male, like presenting, etc. And a lot of them are looking for role models. And I don't want to be a role model. I didn't sign up for that, but I realized that because of my position in this community, I kind of am, and you kind of are too, Fet. Like, you know, like, and unfortunately, there's a lot of kids that are around that go to other kids who haven't matured and ask them for advice, and then just get advice that kind of reinforces their own belief system. Like, you know, like, I'm a bit of an asshole, but, like, you know, what do I say? And it's like, then you get this 19-year-old kid, and frankly, love him to death, but Kix used to say this all the time, and it would drive me crazy, and I'd have to yell at him for it, where he'd be like, well, I just speak my mind. And I'm like, look, I also just speak my mind, but just speaking your mind does not mean you have to be, like, rude to people. Like, you don't need to be abrasive. Like, you can speak your mind, but do so in a way that doesn't alienate you from people who matter, your friends, you know, people who respect you, etc. And one thing that comes up on my stream often about this is that being a nice person who's easy to get along with gets so much stuff overlooked that won't be overlooked if you're an asshole. Like, people are begging for reasons to forgive you when you make mistakes, when you are nice. When you're a dickhead and something bad happens to you, people are like, finally, get this loser out of here. And unfortunately, there's this, like, it's not a very learned skill amongst, you know, younger people, that it costs you nothing to be a good friend. It costs you nothing to be a good person. It costs you nothing to be a good coworker. I know this sounds bizarre, but if you're competing on a pro league team, you've got 4 other coworkers, and they're your 4 other teammates. You know, like, if you are sleeping through scrims, if you're combative, if you're hard to live with, if you're messy, if you don't respond to messages, just like basic courtesy stuff, people are going to be like, I want someone who's more reliable. That's it. You can be incredible, but if you are hard to get along with, people will be like, we can find somebody who aims better than you that's better as a teammate. And the last thing I'll say here is that there have been a lot of players that have been moved off of teams where you just kind of scratch your head and you're like, why would that happen? And frankly, the same thing has happened with casters and analysts too, where a caster and analyst won't get picked back up. And you'll be like, well, why did this person's been the face, the voice of whatever. Why are they no longer around? And it's nothing nefarious. It's just, I know that some people that I've worked with as casters have been very hard to deal with behind the scenes. Not for me, but maybe for the people who pay their checks and sign their checks. And maybe the people at the top get tired of constantly having to fight with talent, or maybe other talent members get tired of the combativeness of another talent and turn around and are like, look, they're extraordinarily good at their job and it shows on camera, but I don't want to deal with them anymore. I'm tired of their shit. And it's the same on teams. It's the same in talent. It's the same behind the scenes. It's the same in every job I've ever worked. If you are hard to get along with, eventually people will no longer care how good you are at what you do. Eventually you will reach a tipping point where people will say, let's find somebody who's not as fatiguing and tiring to work with, who can do the same things, but is maybe more of a sane and nice person. And it happens. Eventually you will get shuffled off solely because you are hard to get along with. So if anybody's listening, yeah, you can be yourself. Yeah, you can say, oh, I hate people. Yeah, I'm just talking I'm shooting from the hip, blah, blah, blah. A currency that never runs out, that you can pay off a lot of debts with, is kindness. And if you are kind and easy to get along with, you are richer than most people. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's gonna sound really weird, but I wouldn't value shit if it didn't lead to winning more. And like literally it is optimal for winning more to be a good teammate. Like it is so, I'm telling you, the number one filter for getting onto a good pro team that makes events is literally that level of character, professionalism, attitude, and drive. Like that is it. And I'm telling you, you could ask literally every single top pro coach, they will tell you that is the number one thing they look for in their tryouts. And there are shitty people that make it into the league, but those are the same people that will they never ever make an event and get cycled out in one stage. That being said, you do seem a little tired of this topic. Let's switch around to something you brought up.
I wasn't. I want to say I want to say two quick things. Number one, I love how I'm like, you got to be a good person. It's really important. And you're like, yeah, I don't fucking care about that shit. I just want to win more. So just be a better person, because that makes our odds of winning even higher. The other one I was going to say is that I remember, I don't remember what player it was, honestly. I don't remember what player it was, but I was a little confused by a roster move. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. And I just remember reaching out to the coach, and the coach just said very bluntly, like, they would not take feedback. We would literally tell them like, hey, like, you're doing this wrong. Like, we'd like you to do this better. Like, we literally tried changing the language we use. And instead of being like, you did this wrong, do it this way, we'd be like, hey, so like, that was really great, but like, maybe we could try it like this way, or like just fluffing up language and shit. And the player just kept being like, no. And eventually they got moved off the team. And like, I don't remember what player it was. I don't, from what I can remember, I don't think they had much more of a career after that. But it's like, if you don't take feedback, if you don't take criticism and you don't listen, you're not going to be playing for too much longer. So
yeah.
What's your point? You wanted to change topics on me.
No, you mentioned, I thought you wanted to say like, this is the last thing I'm saying. It's like, oh fuck, all right, it's time to go. But I had tangents loaded up on the docket because I know you like being very structured, but I thought of these in the moment. I love going on tangents. I love that tangent. That was very enjoyable. You talked about the best region earlier. You briefly mentioned it. I want to talk about how the best region has shifted over time, as well as the best region now, right?
APAC.
So like APAC, China.
No, but we will talk about
China.
China.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler.
We will talk about China. Yes. China. What did you want to say?
Oh, I just wanted
to start the discussion. Be the host. Start the discussion then.
Like you said, EU used to be the best region, like by far. Like it was EU and no problem. And then it was Brazil, and it was Brazil, no doubt. And we know it was Brazil because even though other teams were winning at the time, Brazil was the best. Every time a team won that wasn't Brazilian, they would always go through the Brazilian side of the bracket, right? So Dark Zero and Charlotte beat, let me go with the bracket real quick. They beat Team 1, Liquid, to get to the grand final and win. TSM beat like every Brazilian team when they won SI on their side of the bracket. Beast Coast beat FaZe, Liquid, and then we ended winning the event. So that's typically what you see happens when there's an era.
Yeah.
Right now, it looks like very painfully stated. Like, it looks like EU's the best region. I fucking hate it because they're so obnoxious, man.
You think EU's the best region right now?
Because they're the grand finalist for EWC.
Oh, nobody fucking cares about EWC.
I think EU is the best region. I think it actually goes a lot with the meta that they've created of this super fast lurky use cheese meta that I actually think like Secret and G2 have like basically perfected over in that region with the shields, with the Yings, and having super good like solo lurk players like Mowgli, like Moira. I think that's the current meta that they've developed that makes it really good. But I will say one interesting thing is, like I said earlier, usually the better region that you defeat on your side of the bracket determines how well you do in the grand final. Usually, that is the pattern people see, unless it's like a dynasty or something that just can't lose, right? G2 went through Brazil and lost. Secret went through NA and won. Does that mean?
Yeah, well, NA shit.
No, does that mean NA's better than Brazil?
No, that's weird thinking. Okay, look. Let's go all the way back to Copenhagen 2023. Okay, let's start with Blast.
Let's start with Blast.
Let's start with Blast taking over.
2022.
Okay?
Wait.
So Copenhagen was 2023.
Sorry. I'm more.
The winning team obviously was W7M, now known as Furia.
Yeah.
They beat Team Liquid in the finals. 2 Brazilian teams.
Yep.
The final 4, one NA team Sonics, the other team was FaZe Clan. 3 of the top 4 finalists, all from Brazil.
Yeah.
Let's jump to Atlanta. The team that won was W7M. They also defeated a team named Los, who happened to also be a Brazilian team. In the top 4, one non-Brazilian team, G2, and FaZe Clan again. 3 of the top 4, yet again, from Brazil. Go to SI 2024, which was Brazil. Remind me again who made the finals of Brazil?
Brazil. Okay, I'm not saying Brazil's not.
Then we go to Manchester, and finally we get just a lone Brazilian team in the top 4. This is where I think Brazil starts to get caught up with. Now we're in Manchester, and what has changed? 2 huge things happened after that SI in Sao Paulo. Number 1, the changes to reticles and optics, slowing the game down, and the increase in reliance on shields. 2 things that are the Achilles heel of an aggressive region like Brazil. The meta right now does not suit Brazil as well as it did during those run and gun phases. I think that's pretty easy for us to agree upon. But then it takes some time. And we go to Montreal, and who won Montreal? Brazil. But a different W7M team, but they still do. FaZe Clan finishes in the top 4 as well. You have another Brazilian team there. And then you have SI in Boston. And who wins SI?
Brazil. FaZe Clan.
Brazil wins SI. So we are in a position where I still think Brazil is the most dominant region. They obviously won Reload, but Reload doesn't really count because CAG finished second, and that's fucking insane. No sane human thinks CAG is the second best team in the world at any event. And I will argue that EWC has never been good for Brazil. They have stunk at EWC. Gamers 8, Gamers Without Borders, Gamers in Riyadh, Gamers making tons of money, whatever you want to call the event. They've always done very poorly there. So I don't think you could look at EWC as like this bellwether of like, where's Brazil's strength?
Yeah.
I think Brazil is still the best region in the world.
I wanted to be controversial while like asking the question, but like I still agree. I do agree with you. I will say though, I do think that the biggest hit. Now I know they adapt to literally everything and anything. I do think the biggest hit to them is losing the LAN League. Actually, I actually do think that has made them play actually, when I watched them, like before I would watch them, I'm like, wow, they're so innovative and they seem ahead of the curve. This time around, it's like, wow, they're running Clash and Clash works so well because everyone peeks everything instead of sitting still for half a second to throw a Nomad charge or a Firebolt, you know? And now NA and EU, like they tried to run it against NA and EU, and NA and EU just knew how to deal with it, and that's why NA and EU didn't run it as much. I posed that question earlier in the stage, which I wish we had this podcast back then, because it was like, which one's better? Does Brazil know how to use Clash before everyone else, or does NA and EU already know how to use it and know how to counter it, and then they don't run it as much, right? So I do think they have fault. Go ahead.
This would have been a great topic for our next week's show, where it's like Brazil's not the best anymore, and then there's like it's like a big like X over the Brazilian flag, and there's the subreddits lost their mind and they're angry about us again, and then Brazilians will get mad at us, and then we'll have all these comments in Portuguese, and I'll be furiously Google translating them to know what they're saying about me.
Yes.
We still do that. We still do that for the next show. We still do that.
Oh, next show.
We still do that next show.
I do agree with you. I do think their level of play and like meta reading has fallen off a little bit. I think I see more innovation in NA and EU than Brazil. I used to, like before Brazil started winning in 2021, I literally called it. I was like, I think LATAM's gonna take over, because when I watched their strats, it looks like they're starting to like innovate really hard. But I wanted to respond to you on that, and I wanted to respond to something you brought up earlier too about my clickbaiting. This is me pre-rage baiting myself again. Listen, I don't make the titles, right? But at the same time, dude, guys, I have put hundreds of thousands of views on just a dipshit regular season game that actually some of them don't have Spoit or Stompn. That's a result of clickbaiting. He's doing this like our fathers and our grandfathers and our grandfathers' fathers were doing it, okay? Without the aid of great fraggers who had lots of content. He's harvesting clicks like we're in the AOL dial-up era. Dude, it was insane. It was like oh no, there was Spoit in that game. Never mind. Fuck. Never mind. I was gonna say it was like M80 versus like Unwanted, when like they just split apart, and I was like, my old team played each other for $3 million, and it was like an SI group stage game. And dude, but it worked. They got hundreds of thousands of views on a group stage game. Can you imagine a group stage game having 100,000 of views on a VOD, bro? Man, you Reddit elitists, man. Like, fuck, can't hate these fucking new people. I'm kidding.
Okay, hold on. But you gotta admit, the people who frequent the Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit are very different from the people who probably consume your content. And I mean, the people who frequent the Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit are probably more of my viewers. You know, they're probably older. They're probably older. They've probably been around for a long time. The new audience of Siege is very different.
Yeah.
And it's also important to know that the Siege audience has now like heavily fractured. Back during those Bolo days that we talked about, it was like you only watched stuff on YouTube and Twitch. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, like Twitch viewership would be terrible. Like we would like Bolo would be streaming, Macy'd be streaming, Kix would be streaming, King George would be streaming, and we'd still only have like 20,000 people watching Siege on Twitch. Like Twitch viewership would be terrible. But then Macy J or King George would literally poop out a video and it would spawn in with 400K views on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, like it was a very different beast. And I still think to this day, Siege is a much better viewing experience when it's heavily edited. There are pros and cons to a game like Siege from a streaming perspective. The pro to a game like Siege is that there's so much downtime that if you play on like a support role, you have a lot of time to talk to chat. You have a lot of time to interact with viewers. You have a lot of time to just do other stuff. You know, it's not like if you're trying to stream like a game like Call of Duty or Valorant or something like that. It's like go, 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 go. Like you don't really have room to breathe. And a lot of viewers don't like interactive streaming. Like if you look at the biggest streamers on the platform, the streamer is not having like a back and forth with people in chat because the chat is moving faster than a treadmill at full speed. Like there's no way you're going to be able to keep up with all of chat. Like you go and watch Jinxie's chat, it's just like, and it's like, that's it. It's all gone. But nowadays it's like you've got Twitch still, and Siege actually does quite well on Twitch, especially if Jinxie is streaming it, which he hasn't admittedly recently, but it's been doing pretty well on Twitch. YouTube, it's doing okay. There are a lot of YouTubers saying that they're a little bit worried about it, but now there's also YouTube Shorts. There's Instagram Reels, there's TikTok. And suddenly you have all of these different players that are using a different medium. And if you're not following them on all of it, it's very easy for you to not know who these people are. When I hosted, I think I said this, I can't remember if it was on the show or if I said it on my own pod or my own stream. which sometimes my own streams end up more like a podcast than a stream. But I remember going to CJack's showcase in Atlanta, and there was one team, and I didn't recognize a single name. And Laxing was like, "Oh yeah, they're all like huge TikTok streamers." And I just like randomly looked up one of the guys, and he had like 400,000 followers, and I was like, "I've literally never heard of you in my life." And it was some like console guy who just had like almost 500,000 followers on YouTube or on Twitch or on TikTok. And I was just like, "Oh my God." Yeah, we got there eventually. But I was like, I don't know. The way to interact with Siege at this current point in time is so fractured that it's really, really hard to like keep up with all that stuff.
Yeah.
I completely forgot my point. Help me out here.
I've
wandered into the wilderness and I have no way to get out.
You're saying it's a different game now, and that separates the R6 Pro League subreddit from.
Okay, viewership.
Yeah.
Like you have viewers that I talk too slow for them. I'm too boring. I don't know. I'm probably cringe. I'm probably woke. I'm probably grandpa. I don't know what fucking words these kids use, but like I'm all of those things because it's like what's kind of lost me with like current day YouTube and Twitch is that everything is so rapid fire. You know, like I almost certainly have like ADD or ADHD. Undiagnosed, but I'm relatively certain I have one of them just based on, you know, very cursory reading on what it entails. Are you throwing a card at me?
I threw a dart. It's got to be one of them, you know, on the dartboard. Me too.
And it's like I like to be stimulated. Like I like to, like when I'm playing games at night and I'm like cooling off, I got Spotify or some kind of streaming service on one monitor. I've got Discord on the other where I'm likely watching a friend stream something. I've got YouTube open on the other monitor. Like I'm min-max. But I don't need to watch a video of Subway Surfers to hear somebody speak. So I think it's a very different audience here. Whereas like for you, I think a lot of your viewership are like just a bunch of like G-fueled like children that are bouncing off of, you know, padded walls that want to constantly be stimulated. And the subreddit takes umbrage with that. They really don't like that because they are intellectuals and they can do things without needing constant stimulation. Anyway, that was my point. It's a different thing. It's a different thing these days.
You're right, and I feel like my audience is a bit fractured because I also aimed a lot of video at bringing back like the Reaper Ian analysis people, and I try to get everyone. I try to get as many eyes as possible. That's my mission. Funny thing about R6 Pro League subreddit is that,
oh God,
you know how like typically you view it as like like people typically the view on R6 Pro League subreddit is a vile as shit, right? Like that's what like you know, a lot of people don't like it in the scene. I will say that to you guys right now. But dude, this actually made me so incredibly sad. The one time I crashed out on them, the nicest people responded to me. Dude, you don't understand, Parker. Like, I was like, I can't believe you guys are being elitist with Siege. If we want this game to not die, you gotta welcome these new viewers in. Hey, Fett, I understand your sentiment. Dude, it was literally like the 4 nicest people on the subreddit were the only ones to start responding to me. And I was just crashing out. And then later at the end, I was like, nothing you're saying is wrong. Like, you're just, why I aimed at the shitheads that are just, they're just like, fucking, I can't wait to see Fett fucking dick ride something again. And then I get the nicest person responding to me. So, alas to say, I found out the very hard way that R6 Pro League actually might not be full of vile people. And there's a good amount of very, very kind people. So, love you, R6 Pro League.
So, I mean, if you're watching this and you're not a Redditor, then obviously skip over this next part. But the reason why we keep referencing this subreddit is because in comparison to a lot of other games, our subreddit activity is really quite poor. The main Rainbow Six subreddit is mostly casual. Like there's almost nothing ever posted about the comp scene or our esport over there. You know, you might often get the odd post about like SI when we've got all the eyes on our biggest matches of the year, that sort of thing. But by and large, it's casual. It's fun little clips from console kids. It's, you know, it's somebody doing a crazy shot on PC. It's a bunch of like content creator stuff. It's cosplay. And honestly, like that's great. I think there needs to be a portal for all of that. I think there needs to be like a place to share that. But our producer David, who's from League of Legends, will like what I'm about to say. The League of Legends subreddit, I think, is it in like the Global Offensive subreddit, which is for Counter-Strike 2 now, but obviously just hasn't changed their name. I think to me, those are like the high water marks for gaming subreddits, because whenever there are matches in League of Legends through like any of the various like LTA, LEC, whatever, there's game threads on the main subreddit. There's like, they don't need to create like a League of Legends esports subreddit. They post it on the main subreddit. Ditto with CSGO, or well, Counter-Strike 2 now. Global Offensive posts a lot about match results on the main subreddit. If you tried to do a game day thread of a Rainbow Six esport match on the Rainbow Six subreddit, not the Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit, just the regular Rainbow Six subreddit, I'm pretty sure they would send special forces out to my house to kidnap me. Like, people would not care. So now we've created this. Well, it was created a long time ago, but there's a subreddit called R6 Pro League, and that's where all of the competitive stuff is. And I will say there are some great posters on there. There are some people who love to talk. There are some people who love to smell their own farts. As somebody who loves to smell his own farts, I understand where you're coming from. And then there are some people who say absolutely insane and unhinged things, but that's part of the fun of Reddit, is trying to figure out when somebody's just going to lose their mind. I think that if you're watching this and you are a Redditor and you want to talk about Rainbow Six esports, you should go to reddit.com/r/r6 pro league and join in. And they've actually been really great at sharing our content from 6on6. There have been many people meat riding you, saying that they thought that you were also just a child screaming at things, but they have been very impressed with your place. Yes, that's right. They've been very impressed with your place on this podcast. You have earned at least half a dozen fans, and I think that is really important. Look, there's 6 of them at minimum. 6 people are very excited.
Yeah. W6 people. David, time check. We have a time for another tangent.
All right, hit me with it.
Another tangent. One topic I wanted to bring up that I just thought of a couple minutes ago. Is that what we see, the people we see performing the highest in a lot of these high-profile teams now are the support players.
True.
That's crazy, because it was like, you kind of like, I remember like, this is a worst segue ever. I'm actually awful at this, but dude, I wanted to talk about this in league because we talk about the best region shifting around. Now I want to talk about the best role shifting around, the highest performing role. We used to see entries, right? Like every time we see a star player, you immediately assume that's an entry. You know, who are the best entry fraggers? Stompn, I had to explain over to my stream over and over again. No, he's not an entry player. He's like a cut player, mailbox player. We saw it slowly shift more recently towards the cuts mailbox role. The role that kind of sits there and holds an angle and you're like on a sentry turret, because your entries are pushing players back and then your guy holding their cuts are mopping them up. That's why Gunner had a 63 kills at Manchester, because he plays that role. Same with Stompn. He also plays that role. That's why he will always have consistently more kills than a more high-risk, high-reward player like Loira, who could entry and lurk and whatnot. But more recently, we've been seeing more so like true support players dominating, like Surf in NA is going fucking nuclear blast for G2. He's almost like the sole reason they win rounds sometimes. Adrian for Secret is doing really, really well. Who else?
Pull up some of these numbers here, by the way.
Yeah.
Not because I disagree with you, but because I'm very curious.
I'm also very curious because I've been mostly seeing it through just watching these games. But like, at least for Shopify Rebellion, Surf's almost like the only reason they win. You know? So like,
well, not last week.
Not last week, sadly. Not last week. Which is another topic.
I actually actually met up with Troy on Saturday. Saturday night.
W Troy.
And we chatted, and I was like, "How was your week?" And he was like, "Well, not good." And I was like, "Oh, that's right, you lost." Yeah. Blaz, to your credit, is currently the top ranked player on G2.
Yeah. Asa is top ranked on Gen G. Yeah.
On Gen G.
Yeah. But you don't usually see this. Like, you don't expect this, like, whatsoever. Like, this amount of presence of support players. Now, I will say, like, they do tend to have the higher rating when it comes to games losing. Like, the games that they're losing is typically where they have the highest rating. But, I mean, could we be seeing almost, like, a shift on who gets more kills? Because for me, it's like, this has always been, like, a natural discussion, right? Because like I think a lot of people like really focus on KD and numbers, and I'm like KD and numbers don't matter because if you're playing cohesively as a team, depending on the matchup and the map and the position of your role, you will be more prone to being in a position to mop up kills or not, right? If a team is really ready for that first entry to come in, then your first entry will go triple negative, even if he's a world championship first entry. If a team is really good at powering a backside backstab, then your lurker will go triple negative because they will just hunt them down every single time. Like different roles have different kill potentials, but it seems like that kill potentials, from what I've seen, has shifted towards support a little bit. Now that I'm looking at CGG, I think I might be wrong.
No, I mean, I think so. So this is the number test failing you on the eye test, but I think your overall point is support players are certainly are having more influence on the kill feed than previously. You know, like not every region is like that, but I do agree with you. We are seeing games in all regions that I cast and the regions that I watch too, where there are certainly more visible and larger moments for support players. And I agree with you. I think that right now, with the way that the game is played and the way that teams are playing, trading is happening far more frequently than I've seen in previous stages. Now, I'm not going to go and make some grandiose statement that this is, you know, the most trade heavy meta that we've ever been in, but at least from recent memory, it sure seems like teams are playing more uniform, closer together, and are trading themselves out very, very quickly. I'm finding that there are really only 2 rounds that I see frequently. One, absolute domination. You win like 5-0 or 5v0 or 4v0, where you lose like one player and you just demolish your opponent. Or it comes down to a bitter scrap where it's 5v4, 4v4, 4v3, 4v2, 2v3, 2v2. And suddenly it's like, what's going on here? It's constantly, you're just chipping away at each other, right? I think there's a couple things for that. I think number one, I think playing with shields on attack is forcing some teams to not play as individuals. If you've got if a Monty does make it through the ban phase and you see a Monty get brought, or more likely you're seeing a Blitz or a Fuse Shield or even a Blackbeard, you're usually not entering alone. The Blackbeard will entry, die, and then the player behind gets the cleanup kill. Or the player behind gets killed because the Blackbeard isn't able to save them, and then the Blackbeard gets the trade immediately, right? As defenders, you're seeing teams roam less spread out. You're seeing teams be a bit more consolidated around the bomb sites. I have noticed that on certain maps, deep roams are not happening the way that they used to unless the whole team is committing to it. You know, like what I'm seeing is like you'll have 1 or 2 guys roam and then the rest will all stay around the bomb site. But the 2 that are roaming will be close enough to be able to get back to the bomb site real fast. Same thing here. I'm going to swing. I die. You get the trade out pick. Who's the one swinging first and losing the duel? Usually it's the fragger. Who's the one cleaning up the kill? That's your flexor support right there. And you got, you know, it used to be back in the day when you'd have a couple guys that would do well in support roles. You'd have from the EU, you'd obviously have like Kendrew, and you'd have like Brede, you'd have Shepard. Like over in NA, you had basically like every team had, or well, no teams actually like really had like hard fragging supports, but like Dreams had a couple good games in that role. Over in Brazil, obviously the big one is like Live. Felipox is another huge name that people talk about. Like Vita King is up there as well. And so it's like what you're seeing now is you're seeing players that historically have been very mechanically gifted, but also because of their game sense and maybe just because of their comms or other intangibles, they've been put on these support roles. Now they're being given an opportunity to actually get kills because they're baiting out fraggers who are playing either passive utilities, so stuff you put down that persists after they die, or their utilities being used in the moment and then they die and you've got a support player as well to be able to step in and do that. Also, keep in mind, as across the board, 1.5 scopes are gone. Teams have obviously had to adjust to a slower style of play. Now you've got that Reaper MK2 as a sidearm that's completely changed which operators are viable, and ACOGs are gone. So now defenders have to kind of play closer together, just because you can't take long range engagements the same way, unless you see a lot of these guys playing like stretch res and stuff like that. Then again, I am not the best person to talk about this. You certainly are. You have better game sense. And if it's a conversation that you think needs further discussion, maybe we invite Mint on next week because he will have a far more analytical mind than me. I'm not the thinking guy. I'm the speaking guy. So I'm not the right one to talk about this. These are just small observations that I've made in the games that I've casted.
I'm also not the thinking guy, but I think you are the, I will say,
you are a major championship winning coach. You shut up. How are you like, I'm not the thinking guy? By the way, I just coached a team to win a major.
But yeah, the thought behind this conversation, I'm really glad you gave that answer because, dude, I literally went into this conversation be like, why do you think that is? I didn't even have to ask you that. You just answered it for me. You like read my mind. I wanted the gears to start turning in my head because I haven't thought about it yet. This sparked about actually because I uploaded a video called LeBlas James in all caps with his head photoshopped on LeBron because everyone in my chat has been calling him LeBlas James because he has been winning rounds for G2 by himself. Like he's
sixth highest rated player in the EU league as of today, and the last regular week schedule. I think this was the 6th play day today. We film on Tuesdays for anybody who's hasn't figured it out yet. We film on Tuesday nights, so
yeah. Also good on Blast for doing so well because like I used to hate on him. I won't even lie. I used to hate on him a lot. People, that's like my reputation. I used to be a Blast hater because he had a little bit. People don't know the lore, but he had a beef, like a major beef with my former IGL, Mr. B, before they went to SI quals, and then Mr. B actually ended up winning that game against Parabellum and Blast when Blast was on Parabellum. But point being, I side with my friends, and therefore I was like a Blast hater. But like he's proven me very wrong. Like on support, he is him on support. I'm surprised no one's ever put him on support because he's really good at that role, and he's clearly showing it now. But now that you got my wheels turning, I actually have an alternative hypothesis, and I love everything you said because all of it's really great. My alternative hypothesis is that support used to do not so well because that was the #1 position you expected people to be. Right? Think about it from a very basic, like, gold rank game perspective. You thermite open the wall and you sit on that breach and then you watch that breach. Right? Like, that is like the #1 position that defenders expect a person to come from.
Yeah.
Like, the #1. So then because of that, you always expect someone to be on site. And the site player cannot do anything more, like, cannot die, right? Like, you're tasked with the, like, role of finding the most expected angle, the most anticipated angle, while also you don't have the space to go for aggression because if you die, you give up the entire site or you drop the case and you can't plant the bomb or you're holding an important angle. So that's why support historically has done bad. I actually think the shift to the massive amounts of lurks. Sorry, die there a little bit.
Because for people, lurking and roaming is different for viewers that are not aware. Roaming and lurking have very, like, there used to be a time where some casters would use these terms interchangeably. Not the case.
Yeah, roaming, for at least in my head, roaming's on defense and lurking's on attack. I don't know.
I think you can lurk as a defender. I think lurking as a defender is usually when you will go on a deep roam unsupported, usually on an operator where your sole job is to hit them while they're hitting an execute. A great lurking op is Caveira for people who are just curious. Like, your goal is, like, I think attackers can lurk too, for the record. I don't think it's one or the other. But when I see the term lurk as a defender, what I'm thinking is, like, you have a Scopos who sets up the second bot way off site.
Yes,
you have a Caveira. You have,
often the
whomever.
utility-less position, like the low utility, low reinforcement positions. Yeah, I would actually call those free roams versus extension roams. Okay. I think, yeah. But
the beautiful thing about this game, man, is that none of this stuff is standard, so you can call it whatever you want.
Yes, but I think that attacking lurk position has become so predominantly prevalent with Secret. Like, literally, if you watch Secret's games, it's literally just 2 to 3 lurkers just trying to get into the map as fast as possible, and that's become so expected that you stop worrying about the guy that just opens up the wall and sits there with the case, and you start worrying more about the part of the round where the dude walks in a random part of the round and you send 3 defenders off to fucking hunt him down because that's the method that Secret developed. And yeah, with that, I think I actually think in my head it makes sense that, like, people expect less so that bomb carrier now to come through and start, like, refragging and getting everyone, and that's why they've been eating TF up.
Here's a wild stat for you. If Siege GG's numbers are to be trusted, in just looking at EML, because that was literally what I had the stats open for because we were talking about EML. Yeah. If you look only at EML, out of every single player who has planted the diffuser 2 or more times, which is like close to 20 people, only 3 of them have hard breaches as their most played operator. So you've got what is it, Asa from Genji?
From Genji.
Ace. Yep. You've got Always, who also plays Ace, and then you've got Raiden on Mako playing Hibana. The other operators, you're looking at Deimos, Lion, Recruit, Ashe, lots of shields, Gridlocks, Blackbeard, if you consider him separate from shields, and then Dokkaebi. You're seeing what we've seen in a lot of these regions, and it's been very common as well in North America, is the shields and their supporting cast are being given the diffusers. The hard breachers are doing regular open up the walls and frag duty. So gone are the olden days of, oh, you're on thermite. What are you going to do? Oh, you're going to spend about 2 minutes and 20 seconds droning everything. And then, hopefully you have enough of your team left to be able to pull off and execute, because if you don't, you're going to try to go in and you're going to die. What a great round. Like those days are gone now. Now it's give the diffuse kit to the anti-flanker, like a Gridlock or a Nomad, have them, cordon off the area, and then get the diffuse plant down while shield stands in front of them and the hard breacher opens things up. Or you give it to the shield operator, have them go in, bring some side utility, a Capitao, a Gridlock, a Sens, because Sens' pick rate is now picked up quite a bit as well. And then you have the shield go in and do that. Well, the hard breacher can even keep that in pocket. Or what is oftentimes most common is you don't even bring a dedicated hard breacher anymore. You bring a Grim, you bring a Ying, you bring an operator that has a secondary can opener, and you open up a small enough hole in the wall or a hatch to be able to get in. And that's it, because a lot of people are realizing the secondary utility of hard breachers ain't that great. Can openers can do the job, especially if they're on good utility and fragging ops. And you don't really want to be opening a lot of shit up, because the goal is to assume a good position, a strong position, when you're now defending the case being down, preventing your opponents from being able to get to you. And if you've opened up 9 walls with 8 Selma charges and Mavericks and Hibanas and Thermites and all that jazz, congratulations, you can now be shot at from 19 different angles that you yourself have caused. No. Send a ram up top, send a sledge up top, send a buck up top, have them do some serious damage, have them hold on to that position, get one hard breacher to open up a small area in, get the shield to go in, get diffuser down, get your Nomad to go in, whatever, and then just play safe in post plant. You don't need a hard breach to do that. You've got other operators that can fill that role.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very
Why'd you
good.
make that face, by the way?
Oh, you said anti-flanker. Never heard that one. That was crazy. That like that perked my neurons.
You've never heard an anti-flank operator? What
No,
the hell do you think?
Flank watch.
What?
Flank watch.
Flank watch and anti-flank are different things, because an anti-flank operator is like an anti-flank operator is a Nomad, is a Gridlock. It's somebody who sets traps down to prevent the flank from happening. Anybody can be a flank watch operator. Ashe can be a flank watch operator. It just depends on how you want to use that. It's different. It's one is a hardened role and the other is more of an action.
Would you say like bandits, like anti-breach?
Breach denial, yeah. Gadget denial. I think anti-breach is fine. I mean, we usually call them like denial operators or anti-breach operators. Is great. That works. But again, the beautiful thing is that we don't use hardened terms. And for a game like Siege, where I have to say the same thing 1,000 times,
yeah,
we have potentially 15 rounds where I have to talk about 50 kills, and I have to do it without saying gets the kill or goes down.
I need to learn that from you, because I'm co-streaming, and I don't know what the fuck to say other than he's in the clutch.
I mean, I think I don't know what your viewership wants out of you.
That's true.
But I mean, I think when co-streaming can be quite boring if you're not animated. Unfortunately, you kind of need to be a monkey performing tricks for your audience. You need to dance, monkey dance, like as people throw coins at you. Yeah. I feel like if you're watching a co-stream and the person's just sitting there like this.
I sometimes do sit like that. I won't lie. I turn up for the important game and I fucking shut down sometimes because I'm just so fucking tired.
I think when you're co-streaming, it depends on what your audience is looking for. Some audiences are looking for you to be the magic, and some audiences are they just want you to make occasional comments while you watch the game together. More of like a comfy like companion stream. Because to me, like companion streaming is like when I'm watching the games, but I'm not the centerpiece. The centerpiece is you want to watch the games, but every now and then you want to hear me talk about, maybe something that's related to the match or maybe something completely unrelated. To me, that's more of like a companion stream. To me, co-streaming is when you are the entertainment along with the show. So you're like, you're like, oh my God, did you see that? Like you need to you need stuff like that. Like, and obviously it's it's put on, it's performative, it's inauthentic a lot of times, but it's, you know, like I've seen, like I watch Cadril a lot because I think he's phenomenal, and he loses his marbles regularly and he blows up, and it's like, when I see somebody do something stupid in League of Legends, I'm kind of like, oh, you know, whatever. But when I see Cadril lose his mind, I'm like, oh, that's funny. That guy's funny. Look at how funny he's being. So
I want to be funny like Cadril. I'll go study more of Cadril stuff, actually. That's some good learning.
Chat, do you think Fett is funny? Yes or no?
Call to action.
Call to action. Is Fett funny?
Is Fett funny?
Do you have any more tangents for us? Because we are in a position where we can now turn our eyes to the final topic of the day, which is just going to be recapping regional leagues.
No, that's it. That was like yes, number one.
Quick little thing. I'm not a beekeeper. This came in a cocktail and I stole it from the bar. I'm not a beekeeper. I don't keep bees, though I do love bees. Bees are great. And by the way, I didn't steal it from the bar. These go in the garbage when the drink is done. So I mean, it's if you take a receipt, is that theft? No.
W thief. Sorry.
I'm stealing from like little restaurants. These things are it's used to like stir your drink, so like you can't wash it. It just goes in the garbage. Anyway.
Oh, I thought it was a honey thing.
It is a little honey thing, but it's like wood in it, like it's cheaply made. Anyway, it's a garnish. It's like if you were to get like a cocktail and it comes with like a funny like straw or rose or something like that. Oh, it fell on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay. My cat likes to jump on my desk and he likes to play with it because it rolls, and it's like he was trying to knock around. He jumped on a dresser. He was just like playing with something, and I was like, why does he have to like play with everything that rolls? And my girlfriend's just like, what did she say? She's like, if not toy, why on ledge? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, yeah. Last thing before we get into the regional standings, China unveiled a whole bunch of teams today. Tyloo has picked up a roster. Wolves, which the Wolverhampton Wolves, as people know them from football, or as we call it here in North America, soccer. I just want to piss off the Brits again. Yeah. The Wolves have another team. So basically, China is being expanded into as a country, which again, your thoughts on the political culture and culture of China, et cetera, aside, it is a huge market to get into. It will drive greater revenue. It'll put a new set of eyes on our game, and it will hopefully help the game grow. Especially amidst the backdrop of the topic that we addressed both last show and the previous show, which is Siege X dying? I mean, having China come in is going to be a great way to prop those numbers up, even if they're not going to be on the same client and all that, because usually China's not. Almost always China has to be on its own separate client that's made specifically for the region, because the country has very strict standards and rules on what can and can't be done in video games. That's why Tencent is that's a big part of why Tencent is so big, because they're just involved with pretty much everything, gaming wise in China. But yeah, I think it's great. I don't know if you have anything more to add, because there really isn't much to address. I feel like we could talk a little bit more about China's influence, the good and bad that comes with having a very large Chinese audience that can sometimes dwarf all of the other regions combined, which might not be great for people who are out of sync with what the Chinese market wants. A good example of this is in League of Legends. The Chinese market loves like super buff guys. So a lot of skins are made where they're like super buff and sexy and their abs are dripping wet, you know? And then whereas like people maybe in other regions are like, I don't need to see Thresh as a human with a six pack. I just kind of want more unique creatures, but China as a market doesn't really like humanoid weird creatures. So unfortunately, if you want that, you're out of step with the Chinese market. You're not going to get catered to. Yeah. And obviously, you know, there's a billion people in China, so they're probably gonna outnumber you. But I don't know if you want to add anything. I don't know if you've got any like concerns or comments or, you know, hopes and desires, etc.
No, I'm really excited. I have kind of like unintentionally a audience in China, because there's a guy who translates my videos that puts them
you're talking about
on Billy, yeah. And I mean, I don't pay him. He doesn't pay me. I don't get any of that, because for all I know, he could be a criminal, and I don't want to risk that, and I don't want to look into him because I'm too lazy. So I just said, you do whatever you want, and I'll stay separate from you. But hey, if you're Chinese and you watch those videos and you're watching this, hey, shout out, man. Hey,
I think there's a lot of concerns about the Chinese market that often get overblown. but then there are obvious concerns. Obviously I don't have any data on this, and I do worry when I read stuff like this because, again, people are going to call me woke, whatever. But there's a lot of people who try to advance racist talking points against certain people by using like their, performance in game as a reason for that. So a lot of people will say, like, oh, all China does is cheat as like a way, a way of advancing like Chinese racism, when it's like,
People
how
say
many
that?
of like how many what?
People say that Chinese people cheat in games.
So I don't know how deep you've gone into this, and I
Uh-huh.
don't buy it. But there are a lot of people who will tell you and swear to you up and down that the reason why Chinese games are so rife with cheating is because culturally Chinese people are told to win at all costs, even if that means cheating. And I read stuff like that and I immediately go like, I don't think that's true. Admittedly, I have no experience. I have no knowledge, none of that stuff. But I just read stuff like that and immediately my eyebrow kind of goes up and I'm like, okay, like, sure, whatever, I don't really think about it that much. A lot of people like to point to PUBG's rampant cheating as a good example of that, which is why I said, like, people are going to love to talk about this. And I don't care. Like, I think it's culture war nonsense. Like, I have no idea if people who are from China are more likely to cheat or not in a video game. I have no fucking clue. And frankly, I'd prefer to weigh in on it when I saw some actual numbers, because I don't want to be an ass. I just want to be, I want the truth to be out there. But there is in the West, there is a lot of anti-Chinese sentiment that largely stems from the culture and the government, not towards the people. And I feel like sometimes people try to justify those anti-Chinese sentiments by finding any opportunity to do so. So it's not that Chinese people actually cheat more. It's just that they'll turn around and they'll say like, well, they do, because it breeds anti-Chinese sentiment, because then suddenly somebody who doesn't know better will read that and be like, yeah, like the other day there was somebody in my game with like Chinese characters in their name and they were cheating. Wow, like that guy's so right. And now like, boom, whether it's true or not, you've now made somebody feel like their racism is like more justified.
Oh,
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, but like I that would really
I have no
confuse
idea if
me,
it's true or not. I don't care.
because it's literally illegal to cheat in China. Like
Mhm.
you every time you make a game account, you have to attach your citizen's ID to it, and then if you get caught cheating, you get fined. And companies like Tencent are notorious for being one of the only countries in the world, or only like companies in the world, to crack down and actually pursue legal action against cheat makers. So
Is
it
that
makes
true?
sense. Yes.
Is that
So
true?
it does, yes. And China, South Korea, and Japan, I believe, or I know China and South Korea, because their gaming industries are serious as fuck.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
have some of the relative to population lowest cheater proportions. Though it makes sense what you're saying, because what people are saying online is that that's why they typically go to foreign servers to cheat,
Yeah.
which is why people are probably experiencing this. So that makes sense.
Producer David, who has experience in League of Legends at a professional level, had this to say. He said, North American high elo solo queue games in League of Legends have Chinese match fixing that's going on for streamer games. It's not uncommon for Chinese betting sources to ask streamers to throw games for money. But I also don't think that's unique to China. Like, match fixing happens everywhere. Like there's cheating scandals in CS, there's cheating scandals in the NBA, there's cheating scandals in the NFL. Like, I don't think this is a unique thing. And again, I don't have an opinion one way or another. But I do remember when like years ago, and I don't know if you remember this, when they wanted to like change Caveira's, like they were rumored to like change Blackbeard's icon and like Cav's face paint, and they were going to get rid of all the casino stuff and all the slots, and they were going to get rid of blood, because all of those like are not allowed in like under like Chinese like law or whatever in games. And I just remember people lost their minds. I saw a couple things in the subreddit basically being like, oh, I don't want to expand to China because they're all just going to cheat and then our games are going to be unplayable. And I was like, have you tried playing it right now? Like, it's already it's supposedly already there. But
yeah, no, that's a totally different beast to like straight up cheating in a video game. That I don't even know how you fix it. Like, have you heard about the Valorant thing where they had a website where you could just place bets on stream sniping and fucking over like streamers and stuff, and like pay people like trolls? It's insane. It's a different beast.
There are multiple Discord servers where the only purpose is to stream snipe people like Meaty Marley and King George
Really?
and Macy J. Yeah,
Jesus.
and it's just like it's just a bunch of human afterbirth that somehow managed to grow sentient. And it's like,
Yeah.
if I was a parent and I found out that my child was spending whatever limited time they have on this spinning globe of life, and they were using that time and the resources and the money that I threw at them to make them an actual, like, well-educated and well-adjusted human being, and then they were spending time sitting in a call in Discord all to stream snipe a streamer, I would probably do things that would get me, I would probably die. The things I would do would be so embarrassing I would die of embarrassment. Let's put it that way. I would just be like, I have so failed as a parent if my kid thinks it's worthy of their time. And again, it goes back to, like, value your own time.
Yeah.
Like, you think that the best use of your time is pissing off a streamer who doesn't know who you are and doesn't care about you. Like, I urge you to find hobbies or friends, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, last thing so that we can launch into these regional leagues. Last two things. Number one, on the stream siding thing, that's crazy that you say that, because there was a period of time where I didn't think I was large enough to be consistently stream snipe, even though I was having hundreds of viewers every ranked game. But I was like, dude, I lost 8 games in a row doing terrible. And then I restarted my stream with a 2-minute delay, and I won 8 games in a row doing amazing. And I was like, hold on a minute. And then I fucking kept the 2-minute delay on, and I went from being, like, ever since I started streaming, I went from having a 0.9 KD every season that I've streamed to a 1.4 KD ever since I started running that 2-minute delay. So I don't know. It might be real. I'll let you say, before I get into my last things, you seem like you wanted to say something.
Well, I experienced the same thing, where when I was in Poland, there was a period of time where I was one of the top 10 most watched streamers at the time, which again goes back to how poorly our Twitch numbers were. But there'd be mornings when I'd be, awake in Poland. It'd be like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And it would just be like, literally the only people streaming would be the late night NA guys that would still be live, and then, like, me. And I would be playing random games in Europe with people I'd never heard of. I didn't know how big my European audience was, admittedly, because, I like most North Americans, just assume that if you speak English on the internet, you're North American, because, that's just what you do. But that was a joke. You're not paying attention. Anyway, no. But I did the same thing as you. I put like a minute delay on.
Yeah.
And my games got noticeably better. Not every game.
When you shoot someone in the back for the first time in 4 games, I know, bro.
Yeah. And the thing that people don't realize, because I think a lot of streamers do know, like, the bigger streamers who are experienced know when they're being stream sniped. I think it's pretty obvious. If you're sitting in a random room and you haven't been droned, and there are like 9 different places in that room that you could be sitting, and all 3 times the same guy walks into the room and picks the exact spot and kills you. First time, maybe it's coincidence. Second time, a little bit suspicious. Third time, at that point, it's a trend. And I think what you'd often see is people would be like, well, you were in a common spot. Depending on the room in Siege, there are anywhere from 2 to 6 common spots.
Yeah.
If they are getting your position right every single time without fail, we're talking like you're standing next to a doorway and they're always walking in and looking to the left or to the right. And like, they're not looking down. They're not looking at the other doorway. They literally march up to where you are and immediately zero in on your position. They have some kind of knowledge that they shouldn't have, or they got really lucky once, but more than a couple times not happening. And I know that viewers get really annoyed with it and they're like, oh, they fucking complain so much about stream sniping. I am not a good gamer. People don't watch my streams because I frag out. I'm not like a Macy J. I'm not like a pro who gets good viewership. People watch my streams mostly to ask me questions and because I'm entertaining now and then. So I don't really care if I do badly in my games because it actually doesn't really move the needle on my viewership. And it's not the type of stream I want. I'm not playing to get aces every round or, climb up to diamond. But it really does sour my enjoyment of playing games back to back to back to back to back that are just not fair.
Yeah.
You are playing at a handicap. And the fact is like, not only does it suck for me, but it sucks for my team because they are in a perpetual 4v5 because I am useless because at least one person on the other team knows where I am at all times.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I just want to say, like, what was on my mind there when I kind of unintentionally ignored you was that I hate all these self-degrading remarks that you throw in. You are brilliant. You watch these games. You've been watching these games for fucking 10 years plus, right? Like, you know Siege.
8 years. 8 years?
8 years. You know Siege better than I know Siege, okay?
8 years in 4 days.
You know Siege. I promise you.
I don't. I disagree. I
you
vehemently
know,
disagree with that.
Siege more than I know
No.
Siege. You are entertaining. You are loved. No, you didn't have top 10 viewership because the viewership was shit. You had top 10 viewership because people wanted to fucking watch you, Parker.
I had top 10 viewership. I had top 10 viewership because nobody streamed the game at the time, and I was the only person streaming at that time of day. You know who my competition was? Bikini Body and Shate.
That's one of the biggest creators ever. No,
yeah,
see,
but
fuck you. That's one of Siege's literal largest creators.
I don't think it's not self-deprecating. I just think it's honest.
Yeah.
Like I like to think I'm very self-aware. I'm aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. I think it is insanity for you to say that I know the game better than you. I have probably watched more of the game than you have because of the amount of time I've been around, because of VOD reviewing, and because of the casting I've done. I think that's a fair statement. But you quite literally were the coach of a major winning team. I would have nowhere to start coaching a team. I would have no clue where to begin. And I don't really do analysis as a caster because that's not my strength. There are lots of times where a round will finish and I will literally be like, I have no fucking idea what happened. Let's hope Jesse knows. Like, you know, so I appreciate the nice things you're saying, but I'm not saying them to like put me down.
Yeah.
I'm saying them because I think it's very important that I'm aware of my strengths. I think I'm a good caster. I think I'm very good at play-by-play. I think my wordplay can be good. I think the things I say are nice to hear, and I think I can drive a conversation and all that jazz, whether it be in the show, whether it be on my own stream, or whether it be here on the podcast. But I'm also aware that I'm not an analyst. I'm aware that if you threw me on the analyst desk, I would have nowhere to start. I'm not a numbers guy like them. I am horrifically outclassed. I would never be anywhere near as good as somebody like Fresh. You know, like that's the way it works. And it's like, I think it's okay to say that. I would never be anywhere near as good of a coach as like you or Fabian or any of these other guys. Like, and that's okay because we all have different strengths.
Hey, I appreciate that outlook. But yeah, I wanted to hype you up, and I think what you said about the shields got my wheels turning. Like everything you said was hella valid. It got me thinking. It was very observational. I think it was brilliant. I think
thank you.
You have a really good view of the game of Siege with your experience, and you see things from different angles than I do, which opens my eyes. It makes me think, even though sometimes I think I know it all, and I used to think I knew it all when I won the major, but you know, etc. But my last thing I'll say, like, kind of, I don't want to talk about this, but I did recently have a conversation with my friend about this. Is the thing you pointed out about like racism towards Chinese people.
It's quite rampant. Yeah. We saw it a lot during COVID.
Just racism in general. I'm from Texas, which is a very Republican state. So like being left in Texas is like being moderate in any state, right? So I have a lot of friends who have different like viewpoints, but I like having open conversations with them. I love having open conversations with them because and I love having open conversations in general. And one conversation I really remember is when my friend told me, "Hey, Eric, you know, you're a scientist. Like, wouldn't you take data and observations with great measurement to great accuracy? So if I see a higher percentage of people doing behaviors and there are certain people of certain ethnicities, shouldn't I come reasonably to these conclusions that I was basically calling him out for being racist for?" Right? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, actually, in science, we try to avoid correlation that isn't causation.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, if you think a group of people is like, you know, does kind of disgusting things, maybe let's say Chinese people, because I will say, in the big cities in China, they have no regard for each other. But that is not because they are Chinese. That is because they are in a big city where you cram everyone together, and in animal scientific studies, social behaviors break down when you cram animals together and you lower their resources. That's causation. Right? So, like, let's look at the real... I think that the whole thing with racism is, like, it's convenient for people to label a certain behavior or a certain trend with a certain ethnicity of people when they're really truly avoiding the confounding variables. And I know you didn't want to get political, so I will end the conversation there. But my point is, a lot of racism is correlation without causation.
Yeah.
Let's look at the real reasons. Let's look at the socioeconomics. Let's look at the cities they're from, the dynamics within those cities. And you'll notice that, like, if you met a same person from a different environment of that same ethnicity, you would never have said opinions. So yeah, I recently had that conversation. Just want to throw it out there for anyone in my chat who like still wants to be racist, I guess. Change.
I will warn you.
Yeah.
There was I will say I am fully comfortable getting political. And I think there are times where we will have conversations on this show that it's unavoidable.
Unavoidably political, yeah.
But that's because politics is everything. The time it takes you to drive or take any method of transportation to your work is based on politics. Where your business chose to base itself is political. The method of transportation to get there is political. Do you have access to transit? No, that's a political decision. Like everything that you do involves politics, you know, it's inescapable. But I will warn you, there was a long period of time where I tried to actively avoid talking about politics, despite the fact that I worked in politics for over 10 years before taking this job. And I studied in it. Like it's my wheelhouse. And it's always really funny when I'll post stuff on like Instagram or whatever, and people will be like, you know, like stay in your lane. Technically, my lane would still be politics. I am more experienced in it, and I had a longer amount of time working in it than I do esports. If you want me to stay in my lane, bitch, I am in it. Like that is what you want. But I will tell you, you cannot put that genie back in the bottle. The moment that I don't know how often you get political on your own platforms, but the moment that you start talking about it, there will be a non-insignificant subsect of your followers who will only ever talk about your political beliefs. So I am happy to discuss it, but I also don't want to put you in that spot, because if you have divorced yourself of political conversations, either inadvertently or deliberately, and suddenly you feel compelled to talk about politics, the last thing I want to do is link your brand, which might be apolitical in nature, to politics, because that will eat into a portion of your viewership. So do not ever feel compelled to do that. If you're comfortable talking about it, cool. I also don't want it to be a major focal point, because a lot of people turn off their brains and listen to this type of thing to avoid political conversations, because it's quite smothering. They're everywhere right now. Before you respond to that, the last thing I want to say is there's a really good website called Spurious Correlations that talks about graphs that line up that don't actually have anything to do with each other. And the very first result is the divorce rate in Maine has fallen at the exact same rate as the amount of people who eat margarine. Like, you'd look at a graph and be like, well, obviously people are, the margarine was causing the marriage problems. Like, you know, like, no, but you look at these graphs and you're like, they have nothing to do with one another. But we are oftentimes simple creatures. We look for connections. We look for things that loop in, and we go, oh, so you're telling me that customer satisfaction with Walgreens perfectly matches up with the number of movies that Russell Crowe shoots in a given year? That's crazy. And then you look at the graph and you're like, oh my God, it's actually true. Like, this shit looks similar, and pattern recognition is baked into a lot of people. We are so desperate for answers that we will grasp at anything. Again, we could launch into a political conversation about that, but there are some times where just shit is coincidental, and that's it. And they don't actually have to do with each other one bit. So.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I personally, my standpoint is like, I don't want to be a political platform, but I'm completely open to political conversations,
right?
Because I just think that like I should be able. I think I want my stream. And I say this every time I say something political in my stream, is I want my stream to be a place where people can voice their opinions, and maybe we'll yell at each other, but at least we can like talk to each other about it. I think it's just something that's like, I think it's something that it's okay to be talked about. I just don't like permabanning myself from like anything political, permaban anyone for saying anything political. Like I don't want to be purely political and mainly political, but I am very, very okay getting political. So for you, if you ever want to talk political, I'd love to get into it. I'd love to give my opinion, on everything. Yeah.
No, it's good. And I like I said, I just don't want, I didn't want you to be in a position where it's like when I stream now, it has gotten to a point where politics tends to engulf the conversation in my stream more than any other topic. And I don't dislike it. I think it's fine, but I don't want to be a political streamer. And there are lots of days where it's like, look, guys, I get that you want to talk about fucking whatever, but like, I just want to shoot and joke around and be a monkey, you know, dancing for the audience again, you know, like, so. With that said, unless you have any other topics, let's speed through the leagues because honestly, not that much interesting stuff happened in the leagues this week. So let's, producer David, can we queue up the stats, please? Let's start with Asia Pacific, where all of the results have been locked in. So as you will see on your screen, CAG and FearX have locked in their spots at the top. That is good for them as all of their group stage matches are done. The last match was on the 21st of September. CAG, the runners up at Reload. FearX, the Korean team, obviously sitting at 14 points. D Plus is the import team in the region. They did not make top 2. Cause for celebration?
Yes.
There you go.
Great.
PSG Talon, who were in dead last when we did our first episode, by the way, now in 4th place.
Shit. Welcome back.
Pretty good for them. Mer Gaming almost certainly will have to fight for relegations. My understanding is, and I don't want to be spreading misinformation, Mer Gaming finished in dead last in stage 1. They finished in last place in stage 2. They had a much better result this time, but they still finished in last place. My understanding of the relegation system is that if you are not a partner team, you have to fight for your spot through a championship in order to not get relegated. I know Asia Pacific is a very boring region. I agree with you. I'm
sorry. I'm not them. I'm so sorry.
For those that are not watching, he yawned while I was going through the stats. So I got a terrible sleep last night. Today was it yesterday? Today? I can't remember. Since August 15th, I have only had like 2 days to just chill. Since August 15th, I have been go, bachelor party, wedding, planning for my buddy's wedding, then doing the actual wedding. I am seated. It was out of town, so I was gone for a couple days. I pick up like part-time gigs as well, on top of the casting, on top of us doing this, on top of me just like doing general house stuff, like appointments that I've had to go to. So it's like today I did a bunch of driving because I had a whole bunch of errands and appointments as well. So I'm quite tired. I'm very much looking forward to getting a good night's sleep and then casting the NAL tomorrow. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to get in the conversation. I had a 6-hour experiment on Saturday and then a 9-hour experiment straight, no breaks, on Sunday. And I have accidentally become important at work. You know, like when you accidentally become important at work. Oh, God. I have accidentally become important at work. So
what's that tweet where it's like, I accidentally became important at work and it's ruining my life?
Yes, bro. Like I literally ran back from 2 meetings to stream 1 game, end stream, and run back to lab like this week. Jesus. That's why, Chad, I'm sorry, I'm tired. You
were sick last week. You're tired this week. We're gonna have to bring Mint on next week. We don't really have a choice. I should reach out to him and see if he's free before making jokes about this because I actually have no idea if he's gonna be around. So
yes.
Okay. I don't think there's really anything else to add with APAC North.
Nope.
It's Kenotrope finished in 7th place, but they were middle of the pack.
Yeah.
It's going to be between them and Enter Force, I think, as the second team to fight for relegations, but we'll see. Scars got 6th place. They had a bit of a rough go of it. So that is Asia Pacific. That is APAC North. Still in Asia Pacific. We are now over in Asia, the regular region, and they have the same thing. Where the results should be up on your screen. Elevate finished in 1st. They are an import team. That is a bit of a bummer because we do on this show, we stand teams that are actually from their region doing the best. But Weibo Gaming in 2nd place. You know most of those names. That's Ape, that's Reeps, that's Speakeasy, that's Turdsta, that's Hoven. You guys they've been to LAN plenty of times before. You know who they are. They are in the top 2. They are waiting for the winners of, on the side of Elevate, Daystar and Soul's Heart Esport. And then Fury and Arrival 7, the winner of that will play Weibo Gaming. Shark LFO and Latent Dragon Esports finished at the very bottom. Those are names that I am not particularly familiar with, though I do know Jackie Wu on Shark LFO, but another LFO team in the bottom 2. What a shock, right? Like without institutional support and without proper funding, teams without orgs will likely do poorly, and I don't think that's a surprise.
Yeah. Hey, man, and I'm glad to see so many Thai teams doing well because I worked for Elevate as an assistant coach at SI for like a really brief stint. And they were talking about, like, SE surprisingly has, like, a somewhat solid player base in Thailand. And 3 of the teams in playoffs, I mean, half the teams in playoffs are Thai teams. Fury, Arrival 7, Souls Heart. I'd love to see it, man. Love to see Thailand. W Thailand. I hear. Which is actually, like, fuck. But, I mean, I don't know any other
Swear in
phrases.
another language. That's not allowed, dude. You can't do that.
I don't know any other phrases.
You can't do that. Now on your screen should be Oceania, Australia, the land down under. Enterprise Esports finished in first. That is not a surprise at all, though they and Chiefs have been trading the top 2 back and forth. But guess what? The Chiefs got knocked out of the top 2, baby. It's Ludovica who are in second place. Most average viewers, unless you watch Australian Siege, will not know any of these players on Ludovica. You will know quite a number of names on Chiefs Esports Club. So unfortunately for fans of Chiefs, you get to fight against Ludovica if you beat True Synergy Gaming, and then Outlast and Man Esports LFO will play up against Enterprise. Another team that is LFO finished in 5th place. They are 4 points above Dream Warriors, who are also LFO. Unfortunately for Australia, they lack a lot of institutional support across every single game. Australia only really ever has like 2 or 3 like proper esport orgs running at the same time. I think it's the isolation. I think it's funding. I think it's access to events. It's really, really tough. And I mean, if you ever get the opportunity to meet the Australian players at an event, not just UFEP, but the audience as well, you should talk to the guys about the challenges about being competitive as an Australian player. Every single esport, Australia struggles because they are a rock in the middle of the ocean surrounded by nothing.
Yeah.
So it's rough. Beautiful country. Beautiful country. I would love to go to Australia.
But if you're Australian, look at Virtue.
Also true. Still doing well. Still killing it on Secret.
It always takes
he's on BDS right now, right?
No, he's gone from Secret.
He's on BDS.
You remember when his CEO made fun of him?
What?
For
why
crying?
Why do you think I said that?
Oh.
I hate Twitter. But I saw that the CEO seemingly dunked on his player when he was crying, and I suited up the hazmat suit, and I was like, "Daddy's going in." I was like, "I'm not holding back here." I was like, "That guy really was making fun of his own player for crying. That guy's a fucking loser." Most esports teams and orgs would kill for a player so invested that they would cry at a loss. It shows how dedicated you are and how much it meant to you, and presumably how hard you tried. To mock somebody for crying because their dreams were shattered after all the effort they put in, you are a grade A fucking loser if you're doing that. So that's not just talking about the CEO. That's talking about anybody who would do that, for the record. So I'm shadow boxing forces that don't exist at the moment.
Nice.
Anything for Oceania that you want to add? Nope, because you don't watch any of the APAC games. We've established this.
I'm a moron. Yep.
Yep. No, it's not that you're a moron. You're just very busy being doing a PhD.
Yes.
Yes. So you have bigger fish to fry at the moment. Whatever fish are in Lake Michigan, that's what you have to deal with.
Yes, those fish.
Next one up, EML, European MENA League. Nothing has been decided there. It is the only league where everything is still up for grabs. Every one of the other 5 leagues / regions, because there's 4 regions, 6 leagues, because APAC is 3 different leagues. Every single one of these have locked somebody in somewhere, whether it's at the bottom, whether it's at the top, etc. Nobody is locked in right now in EML.
Yeah.
Falcons and Genji are at the top. Are you surprised by Genji being in second?
Yes, I would say the biggest shift we've seen in EU is that lower half of teams seemingly improving a lot. Like, I'm not just talking improving a little, improving a lot. Like, Wild are getting away with wins. Granted, it's 3 overtime wins, but wins against Falcons, it might be their kryptonite or something. But Fnatic getting their wins in, BDS slamming top teams. Secret and Virtus Pro are at the bottom. Virtus Pro is 1 overtime win in 5 losses. They look like fucking dog shit. They still look like dog shit. Genji today with a runaway win against G2. They looked very much in control that entire game. I think this is, it looks like EU are just really advancing the game and learning new things. And I don't know. They're just it's really impressive, man. It's really impressive to see all these lower teams come up.
Mako, one of the two affiliate teams down there with Wild, by the way, was dead last. There were three teams, or there were three regions that had a team with 0 wins in it. Mako was one of those teams when we filmed last week. Mako picked up two, I guess, scrappy wins by beating Wolves and then beating Virtus Pro. Now, I don't know what's going on with Virtus Pro. The Rainbow Six Pro League subreddit is awash with what's going on with VP, and now is a perfect time to give you a call to action to see how far you've actually made it into this show. You, the viewer, if you've watched these games, what the hell do you think's going on with VP? On paper, they should be a playoff team. What is happening with this squad here? Do we think that there could be something going on in the background that we don't know about? Are there team issues? Is there anything that you've seen that you could possibly pinpoint as the major reason why VP are so doggy dookie right now?
They overemphasize perfect siege playing like it's 2020 meta, like the SSG last 10-second execute. We play 5 up, and I've seen this time and time again in teams where they like overemphasize perfection, or at least like an idea. I don't think it's perfection, but an idea of perfection that you want to stay 5-man up. You want to play super conservative, and you want to stick to your whatever your plan was and play it until the very end, and you play that same plan over and over and over and over again. I think that period of time where they were on 150 ping and they created rush aggressive strats because they literally could not hold angles was like the strongest point for them. That's when they got top 4 at Invite. And now, when they realize they can play on old ping again and they got Karzeka back, all of a sudden they're playing like fucking pussies. Like they're playing like fucking pussies, man, and like they're not taking any risks because it's the philosophy within practice. If your team, instead of focusing on the mid-round or late round mistakes, every time you lose a round, oh, you died here, you didn't stay up here, you didn't fall off and you died here, right? The mistakes are always focused on like the opening death. How should we have kept 5 up? How should we have kept 5 up? How should we have kept 5 up? Then you go into a game and shit doesn't go perfectly because guess what? It's Siege. It's all random. You lose that opening pick, and then you have no idea what to do because you never worked on what to do when you're a man down or 2-man down, how to claw your way back out of the round. You've only worked on playing a perfect round. So now that you lost the perfect round, you're fucking lost, and they look fucking lost when they lose that first 1 or 2 picks. They do.
And relegation is back. So for affiliate teams, you can get relegated. It is an automatic relegation, which means you go down to the Challenger Series, which is played after SI before the next wave of stages begins. So you can earn your spot back. The 2 Challenger Series teams in EU or EML that we talked about are Mako and Wild. But if VP ends up being one of these teams, they will have to grind through Challenger Series, beat a bunch of teams in what I would then argue is if EU is not the single greatest region at the top, I think their T2 scene is. So it's like if Brazil's T1 scene is the best in the world, EU's T2 scene is, in my eyes, the best in the world. And you're going to have to go up against a bunch of teams, and you're going to go into a Challenger Series that has produced over the last 10 years a ton of amazing teams that have come out of nowhere, including you, by the way, Team Empire. So you have to fight up against the best of the best in a T2 league to get yourself back into EML. There is a chance that we don't see any more VP come November. You know, it's sad to think about, and they've gotten themselves in an awful spot where the bottom 2 teams get relegated. Right now, it's them and Mako. They've got Team Secret ahead of them by 4 points. And then they got Wolves with 7 points just ahead of them. But Virtus Pro are going to have a tough go of this. The remaining matches are up against Fnatic, who is currently a playoff team, Secret, who's also in the doghouse, and then you have to go up against Gen G, who are in 2nd place. So you've got 5th place, 2nd place, and 8th place as your remaining 3 matches, and you basically have to win all of them if you don't want to get relegated. That is a Herculean task for a team that only has 1 victory, and it was the very first play day almost a month ago against Wild, and it was an overtime win.
Yeah.
It sucks. I have a soft spot for this team. I always have. Again, I don't like and cheer for teams, but I've always had a soft spot for these guys. I would be quite upset to see them go, and I hope that's not the case. But with the relegation system, we got to say goodbye to some no matter what. So somebody's going to end up being a loser.
Do you know if you're an affiliate team, does your org stay behind, or does the org also go down a challenger?
No clue.
Okay,
I'm not a rulebook
interesting.
guy. I don't know that.
Interesting.
But
I had a very interesting thought way before any of this even happened.
okay.
Like way before EWC, that I said a team could win EWC hypothetically and not qualify for SI.
Oh,
Right
of course.
now, that could be what happens to Team Secret. Consider it hypothetical. I don't think it will happen, but
Yeah.
if they, because remember, you qualify to SI through an accumulation of SI points throughout the year based on how well you do in Ubisoft official circuits. Team Secret got a bunch of points from EML Stage 1, but they got like third place, right? They didn't get as many as Falcons or G2. And EWC gives you 0 SI points because it's not Ubisoft official circuit. So with the second stage of Pro League and them doing bad now, they could also potentially not qualify for Munich, which is a bucket load of SI points. And then if they manage to shit the bed in the regional finals, there is a world where the team that won the Esports World Cup does not go to SI, which is crazy. I don't think it'll happen because I think Secret's a very good team. And right now, they're
Right.
actually bouncing back. They just beat 2 teams more recently. They fucking dogged on BDS, which was actually another up-and-coming team. It looks like Gen G is the only one to stay tried and true to the very top. But, man, I really hope they make it, man, because I think they're brilliant. I think the way they play the game is brilliant.
So I pulled up the Blast rulebook, by the way. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it here just to try to get some clarification on this because it's not laid out in my eyes as
I'm a
as
very
well as I would
word of mouth
hope.
person, so I didn't look at the rulebook. So I hope, I hope you have more insight than I do.
So it says the duration of a license is only granted for the duration of a season and will remain valid for the entirety of the season as long as the team complies with the rules, and for affiliate and partner teams, the terms of their respective R6 share program sharing and license agreement. A team facing promotion/relegation will automatically lose its license when informed by Ubisoft and or Blast that it will need to attend promotion relegation during the Challenger Series. So that leads me to believe that if you are a partnered team and you have to go into promotion or relegation, you lose your license, which would make you either an affiliate team or would make you a standard team. That's my understanding. That could be wildly incorrect, and I'm okay with somebody fact checking me here, but that's how I would read that. When it talks specifically about promotion relegation, it says a partner license is granted to partner teams and it will automatically renew for season 2026 if the team has a R6 share partner program revenue sharing and license agreement in effect. For affiliates, the best performing affiliate team or teams in season 2025 will have their affiliate license automatically renewed. AKA, if you don't get into relegation, your license as an affiliate is automatically renewed. The worst performing affiliate teams will have to battle it out through the Challenger Series in 2026 in order to renew a license for that season, as is defined through the promotion relegation mechanism. The number of affiliate teams that may be subject to promotion relegation for season 2026 may vary per region in season 2026 and will be communicated later by Ubisoft during season 2025. Now, 2 things. I actually had to clean up a lot of that because whoever wrote this did not fact check it, did not spell check it. I don't know who you are at Ubisoft or Blast, but please, for the love of God, have somebody actually edit this stuff because that is a mess grammatically. And it doesn't look good for our league when we have a rule book littered with spelling and grammatical errors, but that's a whole other conversation. It's mostly just me being silly. But that also is not very clear. And as far as I'm aware, it has not been communicated, at least sufficiently to me. I have not heard anything about how this would work during season 2025. So we are thrown to the wolves. We have no information here, and that's really all I can find. But yeah, there's a high likelihood that we lose a team like Virtus Pro, which is bad. I mean, it sucks, but at the end of the day, if they deserve to be relegated, they deserve to be relegated. There's no way around that. Win and stay in or don't.
Yeah, it's rough, but I mean, that's what made non-franchising so competitive is you risk it, you really care about picking up a really good team.
Yeah. I have no problem, for the record. I have no problem with the orgs owning the spots, but rosters getting relegated.
Yes, I have no problem with that either.
So if the whole VP team gets relegated, but VP sticks around, sure, fine, whatever. I don't really care. I mean, I'm a North American fan. I don't actually love relegation because I find it's especially for something like esports, which is already kind of built on shaky ground. Relegation inserts a lot of unpredictability into the financial stability of a league. Like, why would you invest a shitload of money into a team that gets relegated next stage? You spent all this money and now you're not even in the league anymore. If I owned an esport org and there was relegation in a league, I would never ever put my money there because it's foolish. But if you're telling me like, hey, bang esports, Intero esports, you get to keep the spot, but you just have to find a new roster. Hell yeah, I'll throw money at that. I'll invest in that, of course, because I know I've got the spot. But if you're telling me like, yeah, we appreciate all this, but like if your team is kind of booty cheeks and you get relegated, like that's it, you're gone. I'm like, why would I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this? This makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
so
I do hope. Oh, sorry, sorry.
My closing thought was like, I understand, like, I love the idea of a new roster making it like this Cinderella run through T2, making it into tier 1. I love that. So in that sense, I think relegation is great. And I think it also lights a fire under the ass of teams that are performing badly, because it's like, hey, you can't just show up and just do poorly and collect a check and stick around. If you do badly, you're gone. I think that is a motivating factor for sure. So I like the idea of relegation. I just wish that the orgs would keep the spots. And that might be the case. Maybe I'm just woefully misinformed. But at the end of the day, I don't understand why an esport org would spend money on this if they're just going to lose their spot. So, yeah,
I've cut you off like 4 times today. I'm so sorry.
There is no cutting off on a podcast where we share the microphone.
It's bad today. I'm sorry, but
I agree with you. There's no cutting me off. You just talk. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Oh shit. Oh, I'm talking. No, but no, yeah, I agree. I just really hope there's something that like contractually says like, I hope there's some way of ensuring that like you have to discard your old roster if that's the case, and you have to take a new one. Because like, you know, if the org has all control, hey, fuck you guys. Let's take our replay back in the league, you know. So yeah.
The one thing I love the most about relegations was those teams that would grind their way through and earn their spot as a team.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't like when an org gets a spot and then is just like, well, we're just going to pick up 5 random people. It's like, I don't know if they've earned it. I don't think it's good from the storyline. Anyway, whatever. Just in the interest of time, let's immediately move to North America. Standing should be on your screen. Thank you again, producer David. Once again, we want you to always thank producer David. Again, we want to get him his Ferrari or Lamborghini or whatever car it was, you know, whatever. Your former team, M80, sitting in first place, just 1 point ahead of OXG. Envy is slowly losing. Okay.
Sorry.
Envy is slowly losing its grip on the top, but they remain. And I think it was Jesse made a statement about like a team that gets like this many points has never failed to make the playoffs, which almost certainly locks Envy in based on past precedent. Standby, LFO, and Team Cruelty yet to win a game. Both are doing very poorly. Team Cruelty is averaging fewer than 2 rounds a game. Not good.
Shit.
The real cruelty is being a fan of that team, because if you were a fan of that team, like, you've been given nothing to cheer for, right? Like, I feel for the fans. I feel for the players. It's not fun to dog on a team. I know that sometimes people think it's really great when like casters say like quippy little things and all that jazz, but like I don't enjoy beating up on like a sad little puppy, which is what both of these teams are.
I'm okay with it because, I mean, I just think they made terrible roster decisions. Like the former LG roster is actually one I actually used to consider competitive when they qualified for EWC when they had Surf, and obviously they lost Surf to a huge piece. But I mean, like, what the fuck happened? Like, I actually used to like look at that roster and be like, that's a dangerous one that could upset teams, and now I'm like, wow, they can't like look. They look like they can't play Siege. Cruelty, you gave up Ivan, your best player. I mean, like, what the fuck? That guy had problems with their coach, and it's clearly now very clear that your coach is the problem, right? Like, I respect Cruelty.
They lost Skimsy as well. It wasn't just Ivan. They lost Ivan and Skimsy. Wow. They're both good players.
That was like the best 2 players, bro. Damn. And the craziest thing is I used to respect Cruelty a lot because they were like, back when Revan was like, you know, all the other Mexican orgs were, well, not Mexican orgs, but the orgs in Mexico were trying to like import like washed players into Mexico to just easily dominate the region to get a free major spot, dude. Cruelty was like the homebred talent that would beat the fucking, you know, people coming in and call it a day. And I really respect them for that. So I'm, you know, bad looks for Cruelty. But For NA, we have actually a Jesse J. Chick tweet that David can pull up. I don't know if you managed to screenshot it, but it has the statistics. David, let me know if you need time on that, or if I can reply to it right here, forward.
It is a good tweet. It's just
It's a
breaking
very good
down
tweet.
the odds of making the playoffs.
Yeah, or I'll go through them one by one. If that is okay. Okay, yeah. David, we'll pull them up one by one right now, and hopefully it'll work because I've given him very little time. I just literally threw it in his face right now. But Jesse did a simulation on basically what the odds are for each team to make playoffs, finals, relegation, because a lot is in the air. Basically, according to LikEfac, which I'll get into later, it looks like two teams are already relegated, but that's the last panel of this one. I'll start with the first panel. OXG and M80 are 99% going to make it to playoffs. So very surprising to hear is DZ and SSG. Now, I will say the one problem with this simulator is it does coin flip rounds, so it assumes teams are basically going 50-50 against each other, right? Envy's last games are SR, M80, OXG. That's a fucking hard 3 games. So
We call that the gauntlet.
The gauntlet, yeah.
First,
So
you're in 3rd place, and your remaining games are going up against 1st, 2nd, and 4th.
yes. So they've been decisively beaten by SSG. They got rolled by SSG. And they've been decisively beaten by DZ, who we thought were like a top team that had a chance of falling off. So going now against the definitive, what people see as the top of NA, I think it's a tough bargain, a tough task, a tough cookie to chew, a tough dog treat to really lick. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard. It's really tough. I think Envy, if they want to win next week, they have to make some substantial improvements, because if you can't even go against the teams that people are considering to be falling off, then how the hell are you going to win against SR, OXG, M80 unless one of them blow a fucking ACL and decide to go to their permaban against them or something? I don't know. The next panel shows the likelies of making top 2, which is skipping around. Obviously, the top 2 teams, M80 and OXG. Shout out OXG, by the way. Insane improvements, most likely to do it because they are both, well, M80 is undefeated. OXG only has 1 loss. And then making the NAL finals, which is something I want to cover at the very end of this podcast episode. The regional finals, if you guys don't know, it's accumulation of both your stage 1 and stage 2 points and placings, and you get to advance to becoming a regional finalist, which is a lot of SI points, which really matters, and odds of relegations. Standby has a 99% chance of getting relegated. For the last panel of the stats thing, David, I'm really sorry if I didn't give you enough time because I flew by the regional finals. Oh my God, you're the guy. He just said he got them all on time. I'm so sorry, David, because I flew by that one. Cruelty, 100% relegation. So basically they're gone. Envy, fun. I don't know how Envy has a 1% chance. I guess if they lose all of their game, I don't know. That's crazy. That's like a Doctor Strange one reality. But the main topic of the matter, I guess, for North America is Shopify Rebellion, the favorite of the league, who went undefeated last stage, 0-2 week. Granted, it was against the top 2 teams in the league right now, OXG and M80, which are, like I have said, I've made substantial improvements. And they were both on Nighthaven Labs, which just might, go on to say, don't go to Nighthaven. Right? But yeah. Thoughts on all that? Parks?
I think there's a couple teams that I'd like to talk about, and honestly, I'm not really interested in talking about M80 that much. OXG has been a huge surprise, but they've been gelling a lot, and the things that like Forrest and the team have worked on has really helped them out quite a bit. And that's good to see. Envy, obviously, the real test is going to be these 3 games. You beat up a bunch of teams that are at the bottom. Congratulations. Now you got to run with the big dogs. Do you get, are you going to be one of the top dogs, or are you going to get chewed up and spit out? Cloud9 being up there is also very surprising. I don't know what the hell's going on with Space Station, but the team that won the NA League in Stage 1 is now in jeopardy of not even making the playoffs for Stage 2, which is really quite poor. And Shopify Rebellion are a team where, I think Super tweeted something like going like 3-20 on entry is just not going to get the job done. And if when you live and die so much off of Ambi being able to get in the building and tear through people, and you've got Surf there for, extraordinarily strong backup, if those guys aren't showing up, you're in bad shape. Spoit, the guy that we started this podcast talking about, has really not been one of the main offensive weapons they have, which is crazy to think because that just shows a lot of depth. Somebody's got to play those thankless roles, and he's been in a lot of those with Canadian. By most measures, Canadian's not having as bad of a stage as he did previously. So he's not really the problem. But one thing I love to say on old broadcasts was when Fabian was doing well for that Penta G2 roster, that was not a good sign. You want Fabian at the bottom. You want Goga at the bottom. If they're not, something is going wrong. If Canadian is playing better than usual, that's a worrying sign with the Shopify Rebellion team. And he is doing better than usual because he's mopping up largely impactless kills in the middle to late portions of rounds where everybody else is dead. Ambi's dying early. Rexon is losing his gunfights. He's kind of lost. I mean, you've got two really strong voices on that team in both Canadian and Super. So it's not like they will lack leadership. It's more about how will the team respond and how will the team be able to bounce back. And frankly, I don't really have an answer for that. But interesting matchups upcoming. Shopify Rebellion obviously have a match against Envy. That for SR's top two chances has to be a must win. If they do not win that, they are in rough shape. They've got then they round out with Cruelty in their very final match. That should be a free 3 points. And then you have SSG for your second last match. Typically, the way that Troy and SSG do battle is always a grind. It is never an easy match when Troy plays SSG. So I will be keeping an eye on that one. As for Cruelty, though, Cruelty and LFO should be, as of right now, should be free points for the remaining teams that play them. If you're looking at the very next Playdate coming up, which will be tomorrow, which means this podcast will be releasing after the NA League matches. Yes, you heard it right. We record on Tuesday nights, usually upload on Thursday mornings. So the NA League matches that we're referencing, if you're watching this, should have happened last night. So we are a day out of date. But Cruelty and Wildcard play each other. That should be a free 3 points for Wildcard. They are on the outside of the playoffs looking in. That's huge for them. And then you've got OXG going up against LFO, OXG and M80 in a dogfight for that top spot. OXG should get a free 3 points out of LFO. Then you've got what might be one of the on paper least exciting matches that we've had in quite some time, which is LFO and Cruelty playing each other, which will be on the Thursday that this show goes live. And then LFO is playing DZ on the final day. Again, DZ should get 3 free points there. And Cruelty plays Shopify Rebellion, as is noted. That should be a free 3 points for them. So for Shopify Rebellion, you've got a pretty easy schedule coming up. You've got Envy, who right now sit in third place, but on paper might be a worse team than that in practice. And then you've got SSG, who are at the bottom of the standings, and you got Cruelty, who are also at the bottom of the standings. Shopify Rebellion have no reason why they can't pick up 7 of 9 points at minimum in this series. Like, if Shopify Rebellion fail to get 7 of 9 points out of these, let's say one of them goes to overtime and they lose, or the two of them go to overtime, like, SR's in trouble if they can't get 7 of 9 points. Let's lower expectations. Let's say 6 of 9 points. M80 plays C9, Envy, and SSG. Again, got lower tier teams. M80 should be able to win these. They're looking mighty good. I think M80 is steadily improving as a squad. I think they're kind of a sleeper for Munich at the moment. With the way that they're playing in the region, I think they are starting to bounce back into a similar shape that won 4 of the 5 of them on a different org, the Manchester Major. So, and I don't know what the hell's going on with DZ, but I mean, they're a much better team than 6th place. So who knows?
Yep. Agreed. I agree with all that. I'm with all that.
Okay. Last one on your screen, South America League. And we've got one team locked in, and that's Furia. So Furia is locked in. They are the kings. They are at the top. They are returning to form. JV92 is leading in just about every single category on the planet. He is putting in an unearthly season. He's been phenomenal. All of Furia have been phenomenal. It really does look like they as a team have embraced the meta. They are playing flexible enough, bringing shields when need be, but ultimately functioning very well. Herds isn't making as many mistakes. KZ has taken a more backwards, like a backseat role, and I think that's really helping the team. And Fury is doing really, really well. 9Z, ENX, Black Dragons, and Los are all at the bottom. Everything about the SA League standings is, in my eyes, where they should be. The top 6 teams are, in my eyes, the best 6 teams. Team Liquid are still trying to find their groove with their 2 new players. I think they've got some good potential there, but they're going to have to do it in a hurry because NIP look great. FaZe Clan are kind of slipping. Furia looks unstoppable, and W7M are starting to heat up. So SAL is going to be crazy. Do you have anything to add about them? Anything you've seen? Anything you've assessed?
I mean, I opened up a stream. I tried to do a VOD review stream where I watched all of it, and I failed because I was like, wow, I'm gonna sit here for 5 hours and just go through old boring games. So I'm gonna try again this week, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna like skip through the VODs, and then once I see interesting, then I'll fully watch that game.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a better idea of what the fuck is going on. So for SAL. So sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I mean, this season with Furia coming back, I mean, and looking so dominant, that this could be a really compelling storyline going into Munich. Because it could be like the revival of championship squads, right? Furia looks good. FaZe always look good. M80, please fucking qualify this time.
Don't forget about Falcons too, by the way, who are looking good as well. That's the old BDS roster with the Shaiko and LikEfac and all them on it that we talked about. Obviously, they're playing under the Saudi Arabian org now, but they're still the same team.
Yeah. So all these squads that seemingly shat the bed, right? Like Falcons first round exit EWC. You know, M80 didn't even make EWC. Furia did make EWC actually, and they went pretty far. But as you said, Brazil doesn't do well at those events. Seems like they're all making their own revival, and going into Munich, it could be one of the most competitive events we've seen if they're all on their top form. With obviously our protagonist Stompn fighting against all of them, right? Hopefully we get a bracket of just champions. Dude, that'd be crazy.
For one of the first times in a long time, in my eyes, all of the best teams are near the top of their standings. So you got to get through playoffs first. You know, doing really well in the group stage doesn't mean shit if you collapse in the playoffs. But right now, all of the teams that I would like to see represent their respective regions are all in excellent place to do so. Every now and then we have a couple teams that, you know, maybe squeak in or suddenly have a surprising result, etc. I'm an underdog guy. I like seeing the underdogs do well, but I would like to have one or two events where just all of the heavy hitters make it and we just watch them beat the stuffing out of each other. So I'm hoping that that's the case in Berlin, Munich. My brain is still stuck in Berlin from the conversation earlier. But yeah, that's the SA League. Anything to say before we wrap up? We ran a little bit over time. I think this is our longest episode yet, and that is in large part due to Fett. So if you have any issues, just blame him. No, I appreciated your tangent, and I will say, as you lit me up earlier, you gassed me up earlier. I will say, over the last 3 shows that we've done, your growth as a host has been incredible to watch. I'm enjoying this very much, and I hope that the audience has as well. And from the comments that I've seen, I think you're doing a pretty bang up job. And honestly, it makes my life easier when you suggest the topic, and I get to bounce off of you. So thank you for that today.
Of course, I love tangents. Last thing to wrap everything up will be the regional finals. There are a couple of teams that have done so well in stage 1 and stage 2 that they have managed to qualify for those goddamn regional finals, which matter a fuck ton because they're SI points, right? Like that's the biggest thing is like you winning EML gets you like 300 SI points. Winning your regional finals auto qualifies you to SI, and second place gets 700 points. More than double just winning your pro league. And then don't even get me started on like Munich, right? If you place well at Munich, well, if you win Munich, you go to SI. If you place well at Munich, you get like more than 1,000 fucking SI points, right? So it's like these things matter so much. Okay, for Brazil, a lot of teams have already qualified because the same teams in Brazil do well every stage. Furia already qualified. FaZe already qualified. W7ML already qualified. One big surpriser, Ninjas in Pajamas have already qualified to their regional finals. For EU, no surprise here, G2, Falcons, Secret. They're already in there. They just are the top dogs in the region. Big surprise there. Virtus Pro is not in that conversation. As we stated earlier, I just think they're fucking like... their philosophy is just abhorrent, and it's very clear, and it's really crazy that you went from looking so incredibly good in that first half of stage 1 to whatever the fuck they are looking like now. And NA, SR, M80, DZ, and SSG, everyone expected these to be the teams going into EWC, actually. Like they thought these would be the 4 teams going to EWC. OXG snagged that spot away from M80, even though M80 beat them in playoffs, which M80 got mad at the format for that, but I mean... Life's life, that's what fucking happens. I'm actually surprised to not see OXG here. Granted, they qualified for EWC and are doing super well, but I mean, I'm sure the next one up on the list. There's only 6 spots for each region. So now that half the spots are basically, at least half the spots are locked up for each one of these. 2 left. If you want to go to SI, I mean, you gotta lock in one of these last spots, really. But yeah, that's really all. Regional finals, crazy stuff. Never seen before. Well, actually, we have seen Pro League finals before. It's Pro League finals again. If you were an old Siege fan,
I casted them, back in the day. And I would like to cast them again. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and toes crossed too.
miss USN. You miss USN?
I casted the 2 US division things. I was not American, so I was never given the finals of either of them. I think they gave it to Flynn, actually. I think Flynn got the finals and Blue got the finals one year. I can't really remember. I don't.
Oh, I meant
they're like, do you want to go to Vegas? And I was like, sure. And then I got off the plane and they were like, hey, so like you work these days. And I was like, I don't have a contract yet. So you are going to pay me what I ask. And then they were like, and then I was like, I would like this much. And they were like, fine, we have no choice. And I was like, thank you. And then,
Thank you.
and then I got to spend a couple days in Vegas and it was great. And let's talk about this on another show, because the whole like USN versus US division versus Canada division stuff was actually all like political stuff that was going on behind the scenes with a power struggle between people. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to, I'll get into another show.
That's a whole other topic for another show. 6 on 6.
Basically, there was an American guy who really wanted to make an American league and make it like really popular, because I guess the fact that there were 2 Canadians in the league was too many. So anyway,
let's lore.
We'll get into that later. He no longer works at Ubisoft, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, excellent job wrapping it all up. I wanted to say before we do conclude the show, obviously, thank you for watching. As always, thank you to producer David for his tireless work. Thank you to our editor, and thank you to Last Free Nation for putting this one together. We do now have ads, I believe, on the YouTube channel. I don't think we did before. I believe we have ads now, so we will be getting slowly paid, and then hopefully, we'll have sponsors soon that we'll be able to read off to you. So thank you very much for people who are supporting us, either, by financially or whatever. And then, of course, I want to thank the stats that we got earlier, by the way, not just Jesse for providing that beautiful tweet, but Kebo putting those stats together. Again, we're going to put this in the description of the video. Editor, make a note of that, please, that we can put Kebo GG's Twitter handle down below so that you can go give a follow and hopefully gain get some more attention to somebody who does a pretty good job of keeping stats live. And Sprabuni used to do it long ago, and now it's Kebo picking up that mantle. I think Sprabuni still does it, but not as much. But yeah, thank you very much for that. Go give them a follow. Thank you to everybody who's watched. And 3rd show in the books. We told you we were contractually obligated, and we were not lying. So, set face to end the show. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week. Like and subscribe as always, and have a great night. Take care.